currently used as undiva i-Act ka 1975 yayenziwe ke ngulahulumente wangaphambili, and siyazi sonke into yokuba that government i-acts zazo protected a certain minority within our country. So this act seeks to repeal that. And again, this act that we are bringing to you seeks to ensure that there are uniform ways and standards in all the expropriating authorities when expropriating properties for public purpose and public interest. And lastly, this act also has a clause that indicates where necessary, the expropriating authority may effect nil compensation when expropriating property for public interest and public purpose. Size kuni ke bantu base Ntshona Kapa apha kwaLanga into yokuba nisichazele into ba ingaba lo mthetho niyawuxhasa okanye lo mthetho niyawuchasa ngaziphi izizathu. Yilonto sizoyifuna kuni. You are the 5th province that we have visited, the 6th province. Hey, the 7th province that we have visited, and the last one for a while. We were supposed to go to Northern Cape and Free State in the next few weeks, but because of COVID-19, the rate of infections, as we know that it has gone up, we have then decided we must not go to the province. So for a while, Western Cape will be the last province. It is also the 3rd process lesiyenzayo. Eyokuqala process sayiqala ngomhla weshumi kuDisemba, sayivala nge-28th kaFebruary 2021. Apho sasicele into ba nibhale nichaze izimvo zenu ngalomthetho uyilwayo. Esibini process kobu buqhaka bale mihla be-meetings, the Zoom process, samamela izimvo zemibutho nabantu nalapho abanye bexhasa abanye bechasa lo mthetho uyilwayo. Yokugqibela ke le i-process esithi zi-public hearings apho siza kuni ngqo sizonimamela nisichazela into ba nicinga uba lo mthetho sithi thina kudala ufanele ukhona ingaba uright na okanye awukho right. Sininika ke imizuzu mithathu qha umntu ozawuthetha, only 3 minutes. Usichazela igama lakho, ubusuke embuthweni, utsho into ba ndisuka kulo mbutho. Ukuba uza usisiqu utsho into ba andimelanga mbutho, kodwa ndizochaza uluvo lwam kulo mthetho uyilwayo, ndiyawuxhasa ngezi zizathu, andiwuxhasi ngezi izizathu. Uba uyagqitha kula 3 minutes sukunike yona, siyakuhlalisa phansi sithi sicela uhlale phansi kuba ixesha lakho liphelile. Njengoba sisazi ke inumber lapha eholweni is very limited. So if sinabantu that are outside, sawumane ke sibafaka to come and only speak uba baye bakhona. Kodwa ke uba abekho sawuthi xa sigqibile kuni sinikhulula. Sizoqhuba ngolo hlobo ke. Lastly, uba kukho umuntu othethayo, whether we like what he or she is saying or not, let's respect that person and keep quiet thina singathethiyo kuba sifuna ukuva. You are also free to express yourself in any of the 11 official languages. Kwakhona namkelekile nonke njengoba nize kulo mhlangano, kwayo izimvo zenu sizawuzithatha zonke xa nizibeka. Sizocela ke izandla. 3 minutes. Siyibambile ne? Usisi, you are number 1. Uzapha kwezitulo zimhlophe? Another hand, number 2, yes. Number 3. There's no other hand here. Number 4 at the back. Ihlala sisi, because they are going to write your name. Number 5. Xa sikubizile, you join the queue. Number 6. Is it number 7, number 8, number 9. Let's just join the queue. Number 10. We take 10 at a time. It's fine. Only 3 minutes.
Mandibulele, ndibulise ku honorable chairperson ne honorable members ezikhoyo kwakunye nemibutho ekhoyo apha. Ndinguthozama Bhevu, ndizokutethela uSango Western Cape. I, Thozama Bhevu, from the South African National Civic Organization, we support passing the Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 into an Act of Parliament. The bill allows for a just and equitable process to restore the dignity of our people in addressing access to property and land, and the expropriation of such without compensation as is applicable. While I support the bill, I submit the clause 2 under the application of the Act, as it is currently stated in the bill, should be deleted. Clause 2 states, I quote, "Despite the provision of any law to the contrary, an expropriating authority may not expropriate the property of a state-owned land, state-owned corporation, or state-owned entity without the concurrence of the executive authority responsible for that cooperation or entity." I propose that this is deleted because, 1, there should be a single expropriating authority or agents, and that organs of state of all 3 spheres should not be allowed to serve as expropriating authorities. This is to avoid individual organs of state being players and referees. 2, executing authorities are being given immense powers as individuals to say no to expropriation, even if the immovable property of the corporation or entity is not in use or is being used for purposes that do not advance socio-economic development of the country. 3, the bill can be subjected to litigation or on the argument that all people are equal before the law, and the question can be asked why an executive authority of a corporation or entity has a right to concur, but individual citizens are not accorded the same right. Thank you.
Cela ubulisa kumntu wonke lapha endlini. Okay. Cela ubulisa kumntu wonke lapha endlini. Igama lami nguPinky Machaka. Ndizokuthi ndiyayamkela ibill. Qalele mem. Okay. Igama lami nguPinky Machaka. I'm from the African National Congress. Ndicela ubulisa wonke umuntu lapha endlini. Mine here is to say I support the bill. However, there are loopholes within it. What the bill didn't touch on was, my reference is on page 7 to page 9. I will make reference to the appropriation of property. If you can remember, there was, I would say it a dispute, or I would say there was a contradiction between the NYDA and City of Cape Town pertaining these flats and to gateway flats. Then people decided that they will not rent until everything was clear. So 10 years passed. We are sitting on the 12th year now. However, the City of Cape Town demands that we sign a contract. Whose contract are you signing to when you have stayed in a place for 12 years? And then if you are someone that they rendered to, they manage for you to sign the contract, they actually take you out. And there is no alternative place for the person to stay. And mine here is to say we need to look into the loopholes within situations like that. When you put someone out of the house, there must be an alternative. It's within the Constitution of South Africa. Also, I would like to touch on, whereas I wanted to, the 72 hours time frame. If a person puts a shack somewhere where there's an open space, if that's 72%, there is this thing that the City of Cape Town like to do, playing with our people. You are there, it's within the guidelines. If uhlele kuloyo ndawo within 72 hours, ufika ama bulldozers and then balenduke. It's inhuman. And without outside the lenduka ye constitution and ilenduka le, itini protection of those people who had been staying in the place for 72 hours. Uyabasusa ubabeka kuphi. And also the coordination between the 3 spheres of government. There is no coordination. Ama municipalities are given more rights to actually bahlukumeza abantu bakuthi, because these laws do not apply to places where kuhlala abantu abamhlophe, but where there are black people, these laws are applying. And we need to guide against into yama bylaws. When I'm finishing up, ngicela ayikapheli 3 minutes yami somlomo. Ngicela uphinda ke because ngizoza kunto ye land.
We also, those that are going to speak and the time is finished before you are through, please give us the document that you have prepared.
Molweni bahlali. Ngu Alfred wakamagwaca lona okhulele apha kulolanga. Othe wazibona izinto zisenzeka kwizinto ezidibene nemihlaba nezinto ezenziwe ngurhulumente wethu osiphetheyo. I am glad we have an opportunity to comment on this expropriation bill. And sendivila le nto uba isenzeka in our backyard. As I'm speaking on behalf of the backyarders and nabanye abantu abafuna izindlu abasajonge ukwakhelwa. I have listened to people talking with a misunderstanding. Many South Africans and I are in the view that this bill was meant to create confusion because no one is correcting the confusion. A lot of people think that once this bill is passed, they will be landowners. To be honest, that is not true. The bill only gives power to the government to be the custodians of the land and properties. So omama from Langa nakwezinye indawo that have been waiting on the waiting list are not going to be owning this land or this property. After this bill has been passed, all will be gone. All their chances and opportunities that would be fair will be diminished. Instead, the same government that failed to give our parents houses will now be owning the land. Tell me what's going to happen after that. We are seeing what is happening already where our ruling party handles things. I won't mention them, but we know it all. To make matters worse, the bill does not say how will the land be distributed once it is in the land of the government. I do not think I have to remind anyone here what happens to anything that they touch. Just look around and think about South Africa, load shedding, and you will know that you don't need to give more powers to the ruling party. What many people do not know is that the main purpose of this expropriation bill is to have the property that is expropriated used by the state to fulfill its own developmental aims, such as building of roads, schools, and hospitals. It will not give you land or title deeds. The land reform is only one small part of the bill. The bill is not clear on under which circumstances many properties will be expropriated. That leaves the government with so much freedom to grab property they deem vacant or abandoned. The DA is absolutely committed to the idea of land reform and transformation, but cannot ignore the fact that the current land reform has failed many South Africans. The state does not have a problem with access to land, but have a big problem when it comes to managing, implementing, and funding the land reforms processes. Until there is an absolute clarity on what the property can be expropriated and how, the bill cannot be supported. Private property rights are the cornerstones of any democracy. I thank you.
Just before you speak, ndifuna acknowledge Councillor Zimkhitha Sulelo we-DA okhona phakathi kwethu. Councillor Dwane, who is the leader of EFF in the city of Cape Town. Unathi Ntame, who is the regional chairperson.
Molweni bemi boMzantsi Afrika. Mna ndinguviyane kaProsente, andimelanga mbutho, ndimele ubomi bam kweli lizwe lokhokho. Ndizawuthetha into yokuqala endifuna uthetha ngayo ngulomba walo mthetho. Lo mthetho mna into endifuna uyiqonda, ngubani lo mnikazi womhlaba? Ingubani lo wathenga umhlaba? Ewuthenga kubani? Ngumbuzo wami endinawo lowo. Ngumbuzo wami endinawo lowo. Ngubani lunomhlaba? Ewe uthenga kubani? Ngumbuzo wami lowo. Okwesibini, ndingayixhasa uba lo mthetho uba ngaba uthi uzasibuyisela izinto zethu, umhlaba wethu okhokho bethu owathathwa kokhokho bethu kabuhlungu. Ndingawuxhasa uba ngaba utsho, kuba into eyenzekayo apha kurhulumente lo wethu ngowethu lo rhulumente, asizuyiphika loo nto leyo siyibaleka. Ngurhulumente wethu lo, kwaye uthe chungcambe kuhle ubheka phambili. Into eyenzekayo, imithetho bekufanele uba mna ngokocinga kwam, imithetho, le mithetho ikhoyo, kukho imithetho usuka after 1994. Asithethi ngo-44 no-60 nto, kuba loo mithetho yile mithetho ikhusela abantu basengqeleni. Into yokuba babeze kaloku abantu basengqeleni belungiselela into yokuba sikwazi into yokuba sibangazama ugqushalaza, sigqushalaza sincame, babe besithi nanku umthetho usawubhala. So uba ngaba kunosuswa laa mithetho, yonke laa mithetho yezana abantu basengqeleni, kubekwe imithetho usuka after 1994 sithethe ngayo, kuba kaloku sithe sikhululekile after 1994. Fanele uba sihamba ngale mithetho imitsha yethu siyaziyo, nothi le singayaziyo yasengqeleni. Okwesithathu, nokokugqibela, ndicinga mna kuloo ndima yomhlaba, uba ngaba urhulumente uza kwenza ngale nto singasayini into apha kanti siyazibophelela. Uba ngaba uza kwenza le nto besive ingathi ithethwa yona kuba mna ndiyabhideka apha esilungwini ndingumntu ontsundu. Amanye amagama ndiyacinga uba kuthethwa le nto kanti kuthethwa enye into. Uba ngaba urhulumente wethu uza kwenza le nto sicinga uba uthetha ngayo, apho khona thina into besesishiyeke nayo ngoku sesishiyeke nale ndawo sihleli kuzo. Asinanto esandleni, akho nto siyi-ownayo. Kwathathwa nokugqibela le besesinayo lo mthi kuthi uzaveza amayeza. Nawo kwakuwo iilayisensi zifunyanwa ngabantu basengqeleni ababesibambela lo mthi besithi awulunganga. Ngoku xa kuthi uyaphilisa ngabokuqala uyowuthengisa bafuna uye emarikeni. Thina yiyona into besesishiyeke nayo leyo kubutyebi beli lizwe. Iidayimani neegolide bazithatha yonke into. So besesishiyeke naloo mthi. Naloo mthi sicela kurhulumente anze alungise laa mthetho wento yokuba aba bantu basengqeleni mabaye kunikwa ilayisensi. Maqale ngathi thina midaka esasibanjela lo mthi uza kwenza amayeza. Enkosi.
Enkosi kakhulu.
I am Vuyani Pursente. I stand here as an individual. Greetings to everybody. All that I want to ask here is who is the owner? Who is the person who's owning the land? And how did that individual acquire the land that has to be expropriated? I can support this bill if it's going to bring back the land that was forcefully taken from us or even our forefathers. The government of the day is our government that we cannot run away from. Is our government. What they tell us might sometimes be not what they mean. And there's the legislation that was decided upon after 1994. But before then, there was a legislation of the 50s, the legislation of Ngeleni. Those people who are coming from Ngeleni, they are the people who caused the laws to be changed to suit them. And the government even took the tree or the herb that we're relying on. It was taken away from us due to following that legislation of the Ngeleni people of the 50s. I think if the government means what I think I heard, because I'm afraid to say I support something and what I heard might not be what you mean. But if you mean what I think, we can support this. We have only the places where we are residing on. Other than that, we have nothing. But we ask you, please repeal all the laws that suits the people of Ngeleni. That is the laws or legislation of the 50s.
Ndingaqala. Manibulise igama ngulwazi phakade, incoming councillor of the ANC in Ward 51. I, Lwazi Phakade, from the ANC Ward 51, supports the passing of the Expropriation Bill of 2020 into the Act of Parliament. The bill allows for a just and equitable process to restore the dignity of our people in addressing access to property and land, and the expropriation of such without compensation as is applicable. I submit that the purpose of the bill is vague, and therefore propose that the following amendment be made to the purpose on the bill. I believe my proposed amendments more clearly provide for the equitable socio-economic transformation purpose of the bill. My proposed amendment to the purpose is as follows. This Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 repeals the Expropriation Act number 63 of 1975 that resulted in disproportionate distribution of and inequitable access to land. Gives effect to the following sections of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act number 108 of 1996. Section 25 that provides for the redress of the past racially discriminatory laws or practices pertaining to land. Section 33.1 that provides for lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair administrative action. And Section 34 that provides everyone with the right to have any dispute resolved in a fair public hearing before a court or another independent, impartial tribunal or forum. Enables expropriation of land in accordance with the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the Republic of South Africa. Enables government to expropriate land for the purpose of public good and interest, which results in equitable socio-economic development and growth of the Republic of South Africa. I want to repeat through you, Mhlali ngaphambili. For the purpose of public good interest, which results in equitable socio-economic development and growth of the Republic of South Africa. With nil compensation under circumstances defined in Chapter 5, 12.3 in the bill for public interest and for public purpose. I will repeat once again. With zero compensation, umhlaba sithi mawubuyiswe ngaphandle kwembuyekezo, ngaphandle kokuba siwubhatalele, ngokuba wawuthathwe kuthi ngaphandle kokuba bawubhatalele. Under circumstances defined in Chapter 5, 12.3 in the bill for the interest of and for public purpose, and provides for matters concerned herewith. As I said, my name is Lwazi Phakade, incoming councillor of Ward 51, Langa. Mandla.
Mandisibulisele kuni honorable members. My name is Bulelani Sityani from the African National Congress from the Rev Magau branch here in Ward 51. I support the passing of the Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 into the Act of Parliament. The bill allows for a just and equitable process to restore the dignity of our people in addressing access to property and land and the expropriation of such without compensation as is applicable. I believe that the definition of the word court must make provision for and include the land court. As we know that the land court specializes in disputes that arise from the application of laws underpinning South Africa's land reform processes. When this expropriation bill becomes an act, it will automatically become one of the acts that will inform the work of the land court. Very importantly, I believe the clause C under the definition of court must be deleted. Clause C says, in the case of intangible property, the court, etc., as it's long, I want to stop there, must be looked at. Furthermore, my understanding is that intangible property, using a legal definition, refers to non-physical substances, such as the brand identity, intellectual property, patents, copyrights, and licenses. Based on my understanding, this bill focuses on the expropriation of property, land, and land. I must repeat this. Based on my understanding, this bill focuses on the expropriation of property and land. So we do not want to deal with anything intangible when it comes to this bill. Clause C must be removed for those reasons. We have specific laws and policies that deal with intangible property, and these should be used for the court challenges on such matters. Finally, I believe retaining Clause C on intangible property can have unintended consequences of eroding domestic and foreign investor confidence, as well as impede on innovative economic growth and development. Many people have talked about how many foreign investment or other people won't invest in our country. So in dealing with such challenges, we want to make sure our acts and our policies are sufficient in ensuring that we are specific in what we're saying, that we are not ambiguous. So an ambiguity is what we want. Sifuna sazeke, lento sifunayo ngumhlaba, ngaphandle ngembuyekezo. Amandla.
Can we have some of these documents, please?
Can I start? My name is Busisiwe Nxumalo, and I come from the. My name is Busisiwe Nxumalo, and I come from the ANC Gabi Shapiro branch, and I'm currently an ANC RTT member in the Western Cape. I support the Expropriation Bill number 23/2020 Act in Parliament. While I support the bill, I believe the definitions of property and public purpose must be better clarified. The current bill of property means property as contemplated in Section 25 of the Constitution. Because Section 25 of the Constitution is still being amended, and there might be an extension of 2 more months with these amendments, I submit the definition to be: property means, for the purpose of this act, immovable property, and that is suitable and appropriate for the purposes of this bill and public good or interest. Such an amendment would clarify the property expropriated in terms of this act with compensation or with nil compensation, and does not include individuals' personal possessions such as cars, pension funds, bank accounts, etc. The current definition of purpose in the bill is public purpose, which includes any purposes connected with the administration of the provisions of any law by the organ or the state. I propose that this be amended and to read as public purpose, which means any purposes connected with advancing the equitable socio-economic development of the country. I believe that amending the bill in this way will do 3 things. The first is close the gap for the endless litigation of court cases on whether the expropriation was indeed connected with the administration of the law and how the administration serves as a public purpose or public interest. 2, to ensure there's no opportunity for property to be expropriated for corrupt or nefarious purposes. And the last is to ensure that the main purpose of the bill, which is to expropriate land and immovable property in purchase of the country's land and reaffirm of the social development mental properties. I thank you. Mandla.
Mayibuye iAfrika igama ndinguzandile Chamlambo ndisuka apha kwi-ANC Youth League Award 51 iReverend Siko lakhe Magau ndiyiconvene abantu abatsha phayana ndinikeza inkxaso yam kwindlu yowiso mthetho yaseMzantsi Afrika ukuba iqinisekise ukuba umthetho iExpropriation Bill wama-23 wonyaka ka-2020 uyaphumelela ube ngumthetho walapha eMzantsi Afrika. Lo mthetho uza kuqinisekisa ukuba isidima sabantu abathe balahlekelwa zizindlu nemihlaba yabo ngexesha lengcinezelo siza kubuya, kwaye uvula amathuba okuba umhlaba ubuyiselwe emntwini ngaphandle kwembuyekezo. Nangona ndiwuxhasa lo mqulu, ndikholelwa ukuba ingcaciso ka-Expropriated Authority okanye igunya bantu lezokunikezela kwemihlaba kufuneka lihlonyelwe ngokubhekisele kumagama athi icandelo likarhulumente okanye organ of state ngegama elithi umntu. Okwangoku ingcaciso ithi igunya bantu lezokuthathwa komhlaba okanye expropriating authority libhekisa kwicandelo likarhulumente okanye umntu oxhotyiswe ngulo mthetho okanye nawuphi na umthetho ukuba afumane indlu ngenxa yenkqubo yokuthathwa komhlaba. Ndayiqonda ukuba ngokwasemthethweni ukuthathwa komhlaba ngumsebenzi karhulumente. Ngoko ke ndithi yinto engafanelekanga ukuba kuxhotyiswe umntu ukuba akwazi ukuthatha umhlaba. Ukuxhobisa umntu kwenza lo msebenzi kungakhokhela kwimpikiswano eninzi. ngomthetho kwakunye okanye nenqwaba yokuxhatshazwa kwamandla ngumntu nangona egunyaziswe ngumthetho. Futhi ndikholelwa kakhulu ekubeni ukuxhobisa onke amacandelo karhulumente kumanqanaba omathathu karhulumente ukuba abe ngamagunya abantu okuthathwa komhlaba. Kungakholela kwimpikiswano, imilo yomhlaba, ulibaziseko, ukudideka kwaye ingavula amathuba orhwaphilizo nokuthathwa komhlaba ngenxa yezizathu ezingabambekiyo. Okubalulekileyo kukuba ukuba namagunya abantu okuthabatha umhlaba amaninzi kungakholela kumbhodamo ngokwasemthethweni njengoko abantu besenokubhideka ukuba ngubani kanye oyena mntu unegunya lokuthatha umhlaba. Kungoko ke ndiphakamisa igunya bantu lokuthathwa komhlaba elinye emalimiselwe ngumphathiswa wemisebenzi karhulumente. Umphathiswa anganika amagunya kwigunya bantu okanye iarhente eza kuba igunyaziswe nguye. Mayibuye.
I am Zandile Chamlambo, the convener of the young people. I give my full support to the National Assembly or the Parliament of the country to repeal Act 63 of 1975 and move forward with the expropriation of land without compensation. And furthermore, I have a concern with the expropriating authority. I feel that some individual also should be given opportunity to expropriate. A person should also have that. And furthermore, that the expropriation authority is the work of government, because individuals, if they would be empowered to give and given powers to expropriate, that might lead to abuse and a lot of havoc and chaos in our country. I propose that all three spheres of government should be empowered as to what process to follow when expropriation is to take place. And furthermore, this expropriation or the process that need to be followed should not be open and be a way that could lead to corruption. Having a lot of expropriating authorities, that would lead to chaos and havoc in our country. One expropriating authority, I think, is the proper one, that the minister must be the one who have that authority or can even delegate his powers to some people or to some other authorities. Thank you.
Amandla. I, Kuhle Nose, from the ANC, Ward 51, support the passing of the Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 into an Act of Parliament. The bill allows for a just and equitable process to restore the dignity of our people in addressing access to property and land and the expropriation of such without compensation and as is applicable. While I support the bill, I believe that the definition of holder of a right should be deleted. The current definition says holder of a right means the holder of an unregistered right in property. I propose it should be deleted because I understand that it is legally impossible for a person to have an unregistered right in an immovable property such as land and buildings. Unregistered rights only apply in terms of intangible property, and I understand this bill is for the expropriation of immovable property because it is intangible property rights are addressed in other acts of parliament. I also submit that the definition of land parcel must be amended. The current definition says land parcel means that land has been surveyed and is either registered. I believe the definition of land parcel must be aligned to the definition used in other legislation dealing with land reform and and restitution for purposes of socio-economic development. Finally, I submit the word surveyed must be deleted because it does not allow for expropriation of land that has not been surveyed but can be expropriated and then surveyed at a later stage. Amandla, mawubuye umhlaba wokhokho wethu.
Ndiyazibulisela kwindlu. Ndiyazibulisela endlini. Igama lam ndinguNontsikelelo Siwundla. Ndisuka kumbutho oSanko Emfuleni Zone. Ndinikezela inkxaso kwindlu. Ndinikezela inkxaso yam kwindlu yowiso-mthetho eMzantsi Afrika ukuba iqinisekise ukuba umthetho Expropriation Bill ka-23 wonyaka ka-2020 uyaphumelela ube ngumthetho walapha eMzantsi Afrika. Lo mthetho uzawuqinisekisa ukuba isidima sabantu abathi balahlekelwa zizindlu nemihlaba yabo ngexesha lengcinezelo siza kubuya kwaye uvula amathuba wokuba umhlaba ubuyiselwe ebantwini ngaphandle kwembuyekezo. Nangona ndiwuxhasa lo mqulu, ndithi isolotya lesibini phantsi kwendlela osebenza ngayo lo mthetho ngendlela obhalwe ngayo kulo mqulu malicinywe. Isolotya lesibini lithi noba eminye imithetho ithini, igunya bantu lezokuthathwa komhlaba alinakho ukuwuthatha umhlaba karhulumente okanye inkampani karhulumente ngaphandle kwemvume yesigqeba esilawula elo candelo okanye loo nkampani. Ndiphakamisa ukuba eli solotya licinywe ngoba kufuneka kubekho igunya bantu elinye lokuthathwa komhlaba futhi amanqanaba karhulumente amathathu mawangavunyelwa ukwenza lo msebenzi ngoba awakwazi ukuba ngabadlali aphinde abe ngoosompempe. Izigqeba ezigunyazisiweyo zinikwe amandla amakhulu kakhulu okwala ukuthathwa komhlaba noba awusetyenziswa okanye usetyenziswa into engenagalelo kophuhliso lwezoqoqosho kwelizwe. Lo mqulu ungavusa ingxoxo ezinkundleni zomthetho ngoba kungabuzwa ukuba xa abantu belingana phambi komthetho kungani na ukuba isigqeba esilawulayo sikwazi ukuvuma okanye zingavumi ngokuthathwa komhlaba. Kutheni abantu bengenalo elo lungelo? Enkosi.
I'm Nontsikelelo Siwundla from Sanko. Greetings to everybody. I give my full support to our national parliament, to the expropriation of land, that the bill must be passed. By doing so, this bill will ensure the restoration of dignity to those who lost their houses and their land forcefully. Section number 2 should be removed because there are a lot of powers that are given when you talk about the purpose of this bill. There are a lot of powers that are given which might lead to litigation. There should only be one expropriation authority. And furthermore, the 3 spheres cannot be given the authority of being a referee and player at the same time. So we supported this bill, but we emphasize that there should only be one expropriation authority.
Thanks, Chair. My name is Senzeni Mpila. I'm coming from African National Congress in one of the leafy suburbs in Cape Town that is called Rondebosch. There's a very vibrant branch of the ANC there that is called Kapishapiro branch. And then I think it's popular to this committee because of we are consistent about this. And I want to raise one issue, Chair, with you as a committee, that actually even we started that populism of wanting to amend the constitution, we're supposed to come up with this bill. Because this bill operationalized Section 25. We don't have to wait for the Section 25. All those fights that they're doing there, we as African National Congress, we are interested that our people must get land and government must start to expropriate while other people are fighting. So it's very important for us to be able to understand. So unfortunately that other people just stand up here because of white person have written something for him. He comes and read it here, and it's unfortunate for us that after 27 years, we can't able to comprehend the challenges that our people are finding themselves. In my area there's a place that is called Rondebosch Common. It's got 5% of the species that exist there. And those 5% of those species, they are the only ones in the rest of the world. But 95% of that land, if it can be made available for human settlement, there can be more than 6,000 people who can stay there with the rental stock from the government. But we can't do anything because we can't expropriate that land because some other white person decide to protect that 5% of those species. We can use those species in that particular space as a part of the parking, and people can able to realize the objective of integration. But let me go quick to my proposals, practical. One of the issues, there's somebody who have stand up here and spoke about removing the intangible asset. I know that sometimes it's contagious, this thing, particularly to the kings, and I want to observe that protocol, that sometimes some of their indigenous ideas, they were stolen by the previous government. So we are proposing that on the act, you must include this particular section on the preamble. Whereas the Article 2 of United Nations Declaration of Rights Indigenous Person, which includes the states provide the redress and through effective mechanism, restoration of culture, religious, spiritual property taken from indigenous people without free and prior and informed consent of a violation of law and tradition of custom. That on its own, it covers that particular removal of intangible asset. Because some of those who are standing up here speaking all these things, they are jumping on that confusion of intangible assets. So we are saying that let's remove it so that we can expropriate as in tomorrow. But whereas this particular thing will also cover the traditional leaders who wants to claim their intellectual properties. The last issue, Chair, that I wanted to raise it very quick. On the preamble also, you must you must amend, actually, not remove. You must amend the Section 25 because of this repetitive. It comes on purpose, it comes on preamble. So why we can't remove that? So I want to propose this, Chair, just 1 second. My second proposal is that we'll...
You...
Okay, no, it's final.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Siyabulela kakhulu kuzo zonke izipikers zethu. We are taking the second round. Third round sizawunika amakhosi. Make siqale sibambe ngoku. Pha emva, yeah, you are number 1. Yes. Number 2. Number 3, there at the back. Number 4. So if there's no other hand, can we get maybe 6 outside? Those that want to speak? Isa. Yeah. Isa now. No, we'll have the last one. We'll have the last round after this. Even if there are 5, this is the round before the last one. Okay. It's 3 minutes again.
My name is Sasanda Makumsha. I come from, sorry? Oh, okay. My name is Sasanda Makumsha. I come from, okay. My name is Sasanda Makumsha. I come from Ward 101 in Kraaifontein, representing the EFF. Chairperson, we've made our submissions in 2 Parliament public hearings on the land question. And Parliament members were instructed to amend the Constitution to allow for the expropriation of land without compensation into the custody of the state. We are now concerned that the Expropriation Bill that we're supposed to be making inputs on today, legislation is supposed to have helped us with that. And now that the Constitution allows for the expropriation of land without compensation, this is how the state is going to expropriate the land. This is how the land is going to be distributed to everyone equally, and this is how our right to use the land is going to be protected. But since we are here, you must know that our position remains the same. We want all the land to be expropriated without compensation. This is the only way we want to address the colonial land dispossession and the legacy of apartheid. We did not give Parliament the mandate to find ways to pay for land that was stolen. Our land is not a commodity and should not be for sale. The Expropriation Bill is an unnecessary distraction, and we see it as a way to hijack the real struggles of Black people, and we will not solve the challenges of the land. If the money is available to pay for land, it must be given to Black small-scale farmers. Black people in South Africa need their land to farm, build houses, and to build businesses. In the Expropriation Bill, and the Expropriation Bill is not going to help us in doing any of these things. No legislation is above the Constitution. Our stand remains, our stand remains the same. Land must be expropriated without compensation. Inequalities must be rectified.
Molweni bahlali, igama lam ndinguZimkhitha Sulelo. I'm a PR councillor here in Ward 51. And my submission is actually handwritten. No white person has written it for me. I speak for people who stay in Langa, not for white people. I am happy to hear that a lot of speakers before me agree that this bill is vague. It is indeed very vague. Vague on a number of things. For an example, it is not clear under which circumstances will the land be deemed vacant or abandoned. Once the land or the property belongs to the government, how will South Africans know that the land will be used for right purposes? The bill is very clear that a huge amount of the land that will be expropriated will be used to develop our communities. That will be to build schools, clinics, and hospitals. A small portion of the land will be used to actually address the land reform. How much of the expropriated land will actually give South Africans land ownership? Who will monitor the process to avoid corruption and chaos that will certainly follow? What if a lot of people here are supporting this bill with an understanding that they will actually be given land? Everyone here is in full support of private land ownership, yet this bill actually gives powers to the government to actually be custodians of the land. If you support private land ownership, you should not be supporting this bill. Thank you.
Goeiemorgen allemaal. Ik is geboren en groot geworden op de Kaapse vlakte. So, ja, Afrikaans is een van mijn moedertaal. Ik, Shaida David van Ward 58, Gabby Shapiro aan zijn tak, ondersteun de goedkeuring van de wetsontwerp op onteiening nummer 23 van 2020 tot de parlementswet. Die wetsontwerp maakt voorsiening vir 'n regverdige en billike proses om die waardigheid van ons mense te herstel tot toegang van eiendom en grond en die onteiening daarvan sonder sonder vergoeding soos van toepassing. Alhoewel ek die wetsontwerp ondersteun, is ek van die mening dat die definisies van eiendom en openbare doel beter opgeklaar moet word. Die huidige definisie in die wetsontwerp van eiendom beteken eiendom soos bedoel in artikel 25 van die grondwet. Aangesien artikel 25 van die grondwet nog gewysig kan word, is daar moontlik nog 2 maande wat met hierdie wysigings verleng kan word. Stel ek voor dat die definisie van eiendom is aangewysig moet word. Sodanige verwysing sal dit duidelik maak dat eiendom met wat ingevolge hierdie wet onteien word met of sonder vergoeding nie persoonlike besittings soos motors, pensioenfondse en bankrekeninge ensovoort insluit nie. Ek voel ek wil dit weer sê, dit sluit nie in persoonlike besittings soos motors, pensioenfondse, bankrekening ensovoort. Die huidige definisie van openbare doel in die wetsontwerp sluit alle doeleindes in wat verband hou met die administrasie. Ek stel voor dat dit ook gewysig word. En ek glo dat die wysiging van die definisie op hierdie manier sal, nommer 1, stop die gaping van eindeloose rechtsgedinge en hofsaake. Nommer 2, dit sal verseker dat daar geen geleentheid is vir die veroneindiging met korrupsie. En nommer 3, dit sal verseker dat dit aanleiding gee tot die landse grondhervorming en sosio-ekonomiese ontwikkelinge prioriteite. Dankie almal.
Good morning. My name is Shayla Jacobs. I am Afrikaans speaking. I support the bill number 23 of 2020 to restore the dignity and return the land to my people. Even if I support it, there are certain things of which I have doubts. Definition of ownership is given as that of the Section 25 of the Constitution. But the Section 25 can be postponed, and its amendment will only be looked at in 2 months' time, so that the extension will give us more time to deal with this matter. Any amendment with compensation or without compensation should also not include personal goods and bank accounts, and it should be for the public purpose. The amendment that we suggest would be the stop of the unending court cases, stop the prevention of expropriation, and will assist in the future distribution of land as the land reform program is established.
Amandla. Igama lami ndingubathanda wakwamemela, a member in good standing of the African National Congress upper kwa Reverend Magau branch, kwa Ward 51. Chairperson, I want to guarantee you that you will get my notes before the session is adjourned. I want to begin by stating that we unapologetically accept this bill in expropriating land without any form of compensation, as this would restore the dignity of our people who were dispossessed under oppressive laws within the evil regime or by the evil regime of apartheid. However, we do have unclear areas that we'd like to be clearly defined or amended. I'll begin with the definitions. As part of the definitions, it says an expropriating authority means an organ of state or a person. This should really speak to the people or our people. As in the ANC or in our policies, we speak about the motive forces of the NDR, which are Africans, blacks in general and Africans in particular, who suffered the most repressive laws. If this ambiguity is then cleared, we would then support this in full. I also want to add the fact that I personally feel that lots of airtime is given to compensation within the draft bill. It speaks about interest on compensation, it speaks about a compensation claim, where if we are saying we want to expropriate without any form of compensation, do not give compensation claims a airtime. That's the first part. It is a bit of tautological language, it's ambiguous. The second part is that if we could possibly define property and land, because I understand that there are residential property, there's commercial property, and there's industrial property. If the bill that becomes the act does not speak to guidelines that say that, I mean, in our Freedom Charter, we say that the land shall belong to the people who work it. If we don't have guidelines that say, okay, we will use this for residential purposes, what are the guidelines to say that there will be a B&B, etc.? If you want to use it for commercial purposes, what are the guidelines? Because we know within our SADC region, I'm not going to speak to specific countries, where land has been appropriate, but there were failure to give guidelines on how to use the land. If we could add guidelines to either commercial property, residential property, industrial property, it would then really reinstitute the dignity of our people that was lost. Aman.
Sihlalo we public works and infrastructure ndiyabulisa. Ndiyabulisa kumuntu wonke olapha endlini. Ndiyakhahlela kwinkosi zomdaba. Selidanile. Ndizoma apha ndizothetha ngale expropriation. Igama lami ndinguXolani kaMalazibuye. Ndihlala apha kwaLanga. Ndisuka ngapha ya eMpuma Kapa kwidolotshana ekuthiwa nguTsolo. Ndiyadana kakhulu ukuva into yokuba apha kukho isebe le-public works and infrastructure elizokumamela ngalento itshisa ibunzi umcimbi wokubuyiselwa kwamhlaba kubanini bawo. Ndizothi ke ndilapha bendinothi ndiyawuxhasa xa lento ibithetha ngokubuyiselwa kwesidima somuntu. Ndiyadala ke ngoxa isithi iportfolio lityeli lesixhenxe eli ijikeleza apha elizweni. Isithi izawukhe ime kuba kukho isifo esihlasela abantu abaphandle. Udano lwam ke lolapha into yobana xa izawuma lento apha phandle wonke umuntu nothatha apha uthetha ngokubuyiselwa komhlaba. Ukuze ke umuntu abe nesidima kufuneke ehleli endaweni ebukelekayo, endaweni ekhuselekileyo. Thina ke singama-Afrika sibe nelishwa lokubana ke sicinezelwe ngabacinezeli ababuya kwamanye amazwe bafike bathathe umhlaba bawenze owabo. Today thina sizimpula kalijaca. Ndiyacela kapha ndiyabongoza ingakumbi apha kwenkosi ndithi zinkosi zomdabu. Zivele singade siye into yokubana sixabane nabantu abathi banomhlaba. Because thina apha kweli lizwe sidalelwe. Akukho enye indawo esiyayitracer naphi i-background yethu. Singaba lapha. Ndizakwenza umzekelo phaa kulaa ndawo ndisuka kuyo kukho idolotshana apha ekuthiwa yiMaclear. Ndiyazi uba kuthiwa yiMaclear. Mhlawumbe ithiwe ngomnye umuntu osuka ngaphandle. Bendinomdla kwesaa stori sabantu basengqeleni. othi lo muntu anivumelekanga uba nihambe apha. Phaa kulaa ndawo anefama kuyo lo tata, ootata omkhulu, amangcwabo abo opha. Andiyazi ke ngoku noba loo nto leyo singayisebenzisa njengento yokuthi laa ndawo siyayifuna singabazukulwana bakambotsho. So ndifuna ukuthi ke into yomhlaba inde, as much as sizoyithetha apha, inde asiphelela apha kule nto siyithetha apha, sithetha ngebill ne-act, until such time i-act ezenziwe ngamakolonial zisuswe, nezinto ezize namakolonial zisuswe, kubuyiselwe isidima sama-Afrika kuma-Afrika. Then ngelo xesha ke kosawuthi sinasi ke singabumi makubuyiselwe umhlaba kubaniniwe. Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili.
Greetings to the chairperson of the committee and everybody present here, and salute to the other traditional leaders. Chairperson, I'm a bit disappointed here that the department is here to come after hearing that we are talking about expropriation of land without without compensation. And I would support this bill if it would bring back our dignity by returning the lands that was taken from our forefathers. I'm a bit disappointed that the chairperson indicated that we are on you are at the 7th province now, and after this province you are going to take pause due to the pandemic that is taking place outside. We need land to restore our dignity. The history of land is a very, very long history. We need our land to get back, to be returned to us, because it was taken without any kind of compensation. Our traditional leaders should also claim what is rightfully theirs, so that there should be no dispute as to when we need to get land. And furthermore, there's a place called Maclear. I don't know under whose name was that place named. Because the graves of our forefathers are there, we can't even access those graves from there. The land issue is a very, very long history, starting from the arrival of the colonialists, and all their laws or legislation should be repealed, and our land should be brought back from their hands and be brought back to our people. By doing so, you'll be restoring our dignity.
Mandibulise kusihlalo oqhuba le nkqubo sikuyo, ndibulise inkosi ndizikhahlele, bulise wonke umuntu okhoyo alapha endlini. Igama ngumzubanzi ngoDambuza Ifani. Ndingenye yeenkokheli zakwa-EFF, ndikwayiyo nalento kuthiwa yi-PR Council, hayi incoming. Sihlalo ongaphambili, into yokuqala esifuna uyiveza yinto yokuba sihla sinyuka sijikeleze. It is not the first time that we are called in for this process. Naqale nasibize eGududi, N1 City, saseqaweni. Nasibize eKhayelitsha, navalelwa ngabahlali abathathe umhlaba. You are bringing us here kwaLanga. Maybe the reason why you are bringing us kwaLanga now, it's because you know that many people died here, kwaLanga, at the time of the Sharpeville massacre. Now we are here, and we are asking Parliament to stop wasting money. Money that could be used for other use. Because we've been doing the same thing. You are going to call us again and say to us, we must come here, and you want to listen to us again. Ikliye le nto bethuna, including these ones that are sitting here with these yellow t-shirts, in majority in Parliament. They know that their own political party is bringing us here again. Is bringing us here again. In majority. accept the bill. We've been calling for this. We are saying this, and it's not the first time that we're submitting this. We want the land to come back to the people. We are calling for the expropriation of land without compensation. Amendment of Section 25. We are going to go around asking for the same thing as if siceliswe kire ingathi ayisoyethu. The people that are sitting here, who are actually talking about those that have written speeches for them. And funny enough, I expected the DA would come with a wah-wah English this morning. But the people who are coming with the wah-wah English are the people of the ANC because they are writing these things. All we are asking for is that the majority party in parliament is to take a strong decision and stop playing around with us. Expropriation of land without compensation. But since you are here, we must know that our position remains the same. We want all land to be expropriated without compensation. This is the only way we will address colonial land dispossession. Now, ke ngoku incoming ndize kuyi ndithi umhlaba lo ngowethu singabantu abantsundu. Kwaye yena njemba ethunyela ukuthi makazothi wa ye. Azanga for wa asisozi incoming. Thina singabantu abalwela umhlaba sizawuthatha ngenkani bani sibike.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Masilungise akho mntu wawazisayo apha wonke umuntu uyathetha. So masimlungise. Mamelani kaloku sithe wonke umuntu uzawuthetha uluvo lwakhe. So sufika usixelela uba bathi wawa kuthi. Nawe uba uthi wawa uzawuthi wawa kuthi. Noba ushawutisa kuthi. So sicela ke sihloniphane. Presenta i-view yakho. Noko ungagqeki abantu indlela abathetha ngayo. Present i-view yakho. Ungagqeki abantu indlela abathetha ngayo. Siyayicela loo nto kakhulu. Nokuba uthi umuntu utheni besiyithethile nto kusaqala. Sithi mawumanyelwe nobuthini nakuthi. Kodwa ke sufika apha ufika uzogqeka into yoba wathetha ngolo hlobo. Present i-view yakho. Le into yesifunayo. Enkosi kakhulu. Sinabantu abaninzi apha phandle abafuna ukungena, so sizaba nendlela yokuba ke sizama uphungula apha endlini bangene. Kukho abantu abaninzi abathi basafuna uthetha abalapha phandle, so we have to allow them to come in.
My name is Mzobanzi Tambuza. I'm an EFF leader, a PR councillor, not an incoming one. Greetings to the chair. I would like to give due respect to our traditional leaders in the house today. Chair, you first called us in Goodwood. Then it was Kailicha, where you were taken hostage. You are now at Langa, and I suppose you are here because many people died here. There's a history. This is clear to us. We support the bill. And we implore you not to always call us for the same thing. This is our land. We are not here to say anything else. But if you keep on delaying the process, we will take the land by force. And the ones who have this sophisticated English should just step aside.
Molweni Hlalo. Igama lami ndingumoneli Sigijana, ndisuka kwi-EFF, ndingunobhala eKhayelitsha, kwa branch 89. Mphathi nkqubo asivisisi into yoba siphinde sibizwe apha kwakhona because le mali ichithwayo apha namhlanje imali mhlambi binonceda abantu abamnyama bangathathi intweni mhlambi amafama amnyama angathathi intweni. So sibizwe apha kwakhona mhlambi sibizwa kwesithathu ukuba ndiphazame. Sizothetha kakhona ngedabi lomhlaba. Sihlalo into ezaxela yona namhlanje into yoba ayizujika. Sathetha laa nto sesiyithethile kuqala kuba umhlaba sifuna kubuyiselwe ebantwini bakuthi abamnyama because xa kubuyiselwa umhlaba ebantwini abamnyama kubuyiselwa nesidima somuntu omnyama. Ukuba abelungu bayaqhubekeka ibe ngabo abaphethe umhlaba asoze abelungu bakwazi usihlonipha because of umuntu ongenanto akahlonipheki. Uyayiqaphela ke Sihlalo kumuntu umzekelo oyibheka opha estratweni kuba nzima noba akahlonishwe ngumuntu because of bayabazi abantu lo muntu lona akanamhlaba akananto. That is why abelungu ufike bestreetha ngehlobo astreetha ngalo because bayaba akho nto sinayo thina. Sihlalo uba noba ungakujikeleza uphume noba uye eKhayelitsha okanye ujikeleze apha kwezitrato zalapha ujonge ihlobo abantu abahlala ngalo basezitenini nabasematyotyombeni ubone ihlobo eli baxiniseke ngalo neeyadi ezi. Noba sowuthe wanayo ezosentanyana nazo ezincinci uthi mawuzithengele isikorokoro awukwazi nokwazi uba usipake apha ngaphakathi eyadini. Sekukho umzekelo ifuneral umzekelo mhlawumbi kukhona umuntu uswelekileyo intente efuneka ivale istrato ibekwe ngaphandle estratweni because of thini asinawo ngumhlaba. So Sihlalo siyaphinda kwakhona sithetha nto sisithethile kuni umhlaba sicela ubuyiselwe ebantwini abamnyama. Ayikho enye indlela kunokwenziwa ngayo ukuze abantu abamnyama bakwazi uhlonipheka ukuze abelungu bakwazi nathi ustreetha ngehlobo abatreetha ngalo abanye abantu abangabelungu funeke nathi basibone nathi siyakwazi basibe nento esi-ownayo singabantu abamnyama. Enkosi Sihlalo kakhulu.
My name is Moneli Sigijana from branch 89 in Khayelitsha. We do not support having to be called here now and again for the same things. Giving back land to the people restores their dignity. Look at how people treat beggars. They certainly are not treated with dignity, and this is the way we feel we are being treated. We live in very small places. It's even difficult to park our cars, for instance. When we have funerals, we have to go outside the yards to erect tents because there isn't enough space. Thank you.
Amandla hlala ngaphambili ndiyabulela ngonikwa lithuba nesigqiba ohamba naso. Nongixolela ke ndizawufuna uthetha elwimi lakuthi kuba abantu abaninzi abalapha ngaphandle ngabantu abadala abangasiviyo esi silungu sidibene ngaso apha. Okokuqala into endizayithetha nina kanye abaphuma apha kulaa ndlu nkulu. Igama lam ndingu-Unathi Dyusha ndiphuma ePhilippi kwa-Ward 80 ndingusihlalo nampha we-EFF. Ikhaya ke lisemthatha lalyasete basemishini. Into esidibanisileyo apha ngulo mba womhlaba. Into endifuna ukuyithetha kakuhle lo mba womhlaba lona engomba umtsha wangoku ngo-2003. Ngo-1912 i-ANC lo mbutho sithi umbutho omkhulu namhlanje wafonyishwa ngenxa yomhlaba owathathwa ngabantu abamhlophe bebulala singabanye bethu thina sinabo abazali. Ukhula nje kusithiwa unotata owaswelekayo kuSharpeville massacre omnye wasweleka ngapha ePretoria nootamkhulu bethu bebesilwa lo mhlaba. Ngoku siyibona thina lento nimosha nje imali sikhala oko nisinika i-350 ngenyanga singaphangeli siphelelwe imisebenzi. Kodwa ninemali eniyimoshayo apha ninesalary zeni personal eniziholayo kodwa ngokuza apha ninesalary engenayo again. Siyafunda kwezi college senze agriculture abanye bethu bazi graduates apha even kwabe ANC. Kunzima into yoba uthi sawunesenti unikwa ngudade bawo mawufuye noba ibhokhwe noba igusha okanye wenze isitiyanyana naku umhlaba phambi kwakho uzalika uthatha lo mhlaba apha eStellenbosch uzodutyulwa okanye ubanjwe uvalelwe kuthiwa ube umhlaba phofu ungumntu omnyama ungowalapha eSouth Africa. Into esicelayo apha kuni ikliye ayifuni noba ibe kuphela iminyaka yandana ngonyaka wesingaphi sihamba lento. Xa uphuma apha ubheka ngapha eSelingsburg kukho amathafa apha umhlaba lowa yiSouth Africa iWestern Cape. It's not that sikwenye ilizwe asikho seAmerica. Xa uphuma ubheka ngapha eStellenbosch kukho amathafa apha kukho amasimi singalima apha sinazo izakhono sikhulele emakhaya. Akunyanzelekanga ize silime silinyelwe ngabantu abamhlophe siqashwe. Into esiyifunayo apha sifuna ukuziqasha. Sifuna umhlaba sikhulelele nje basifumana umhlaba nina niphetheyo kuba ni majority kula parliament. Thina simane sisizisa amacebo kuni kuba siyabona niyabetheka pha napha. Sizaninika la macebo. Siyafunda sizigraduate agriculture siyayazi abanye bethu apha banayo imali ngosihleli apha but umhlaba sinawo. Siphinde futhi umhlaba esudinga ngolima umhlaba obeka izindlu. Pha kumna ndihlala eTyotyombeni siba yi7 Tyotyombe lami ngu2 room. Ndiqinisekile ka wena no8 rooms apha eConstantia kodwa wedwa. Uyabo kodwa remember ye-National Parliament sihlalo. Kawukhe xa ufika emotweni udrive uphuma apha ukuyicinga izinto esizithetha apha. Xa siwuthatha lo mhlaba sidutyulwa ngulo enforcement we-DA apha kwezilokishi asuthathe kuba kukomnandi. Sihlala kwikopi ezincinci. Ndiyabulela.
Chairperson and the House, good day. My name is Unati Jusha from the EFF, Ward 8, Philippi. I am from Tata. This is not, the land issue is not a new thing. It didn't start in 2003. It started way back in 1912. That is when the ANC was formed, for instance. Some of us grew up without fathers, having died fighting for this land. Some of us are graduates, but none own even a piece of land, not even to rear some animals. If we would happen to take a piece of land across from where we live, just to have some animals, we would be arrested by the people from Stellenbosch. There's ample land going to Langsberg, for instance. There's ample land in Stellenbosch. We can farm there. We can practice agriculture because some of us are graduates in agriculture. We need land. Some of us have money, but we do not have land from which to practice any of the skills that we have. I, for instance, live in a shack in Philippi. There's 7 of us. I'm sure you live in a mansion. You would not perhaps have the feeling that I have. This matter is not a new thing, and as soon as it is sorted, I think it will be the best for all of us.
Kaisis, I would like to acknowledge all traditional leadership and all political parties here today. Today, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Hetuman Musfika Arendse. I'm representing the I'm representing the Khoisan San today here in all broader areas. The representation tribal that I'm standing here for today is also the Griqua Traditional and Royal Authority under his leadership of Adam Kok, the fifth. Today, we would like to address the matter of today's gathering is we oppose the Expropriation Bill of 2020. Reason B is this matter is not the current matter for us as Khoi San. This matter is even not a matter from 1912. From that time, this matter is for us a matter that's coming plus minus 7 from the 7th century. So for us as the Khoi San today, we would like to give our points to ask government to take it in consideration. We were only acknowledged by government on the 1st of April 2021. It has been a long time process for us in Khoi and San. But today we want to actually speak out in front of government to ask government, don't make us a spectacle, to come and ask and put this thing in front, and to come to communities and ask about to accept bills like this. Because please, as you acknowledge us on the 1st of April, acknowledge us as the first ownership of the land. We did and take that in consideration that you've been the caretakers of the land while we were still here. We acknowledge you for looking after our land, and you've done a good job. But please do make it your duty to please keep us in consideration. Give back to us also what is ours. Give back to our, as you gave us our recognition on the 1st of April 2021, give the land back to the ownership that it was taken from the first time. And now I'm going to back 17th centuries, the 17th century when Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch, the British, the Netherlands, the France, everybody came to this port, to the colonial. And what they did, they came to our people, and they came with other kinds of stuff to our people to betray what they are here for. And we have accepted all of this. We are all over the southern Africa. We have been spread like the sand of the Kalahari. But today we want to please plead to the government. We were not part of this bill. We were never included in this bill. To review this bill, to go to the platform and ask us Khoi and San leadership, please come and give your input so that we can make this a transparency, so that when land is given back to who is the owners of that land, then it must be a transparent thing. That it must be not about who it was the first or who was the second or who was there, but to make it that everybody is equally treated. Today, I want to plead to government. We do recognize you as the government that's sitting there making decisions. We cannot overlook that. But we also ask you to please acknowledge us as the First Nation. Lots of our rights was taken away. At the moment, we don't have a lot of rights. But we want to ask government, you said you're going to recognize us, you're going to make that process for us to be there.
Your time is up. If you have anything written, you can then leave it with our...
Just complete to just finish. It's not going to take even a minute or two. No problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I start? I'm Simpiwe Silwana from the ANC Gabi Shapiro branch, a very lively and vibrant branch of the ANC. It's very interesting that people complain about the vagueness of this particular bill when the whole process is to bring clarity to the section. And also, it's the first time that I've ever heard the community complaining about more community engagement. The whole process of democracy is for the people and of the people. But then I'm going to continue with what I'm here for. I support the bill and the just and equitable process to restore the dignity of our people in addressing access to land and self-respect and redress measures. While supporting the bill, I believe the definition of expropriating authority should be amended in terms of the words organ of state and the definition says expropriating. Empowering a person to do this can lead to various wide-ranging legal disputes and or to wide-ranging abuse of powers by an individual, even if empowered by this act. I further strongly believe that empowering all organs of state of all three spheres of government, which is the executive, judiciary, and legislature of government, to serve as expropriating authorities will lead to disputes, territorial battles, delays, confusion, and possible even create opportunities for corruption and expropriation for nefarious gain when implementing the act. Very important is that having several expropriating authorities can lead to judicial confusion because people can question which authority is actually in charge. Thus, I propose that a single expropriating authority or agency must be established by the Minister of Public Works. The minister can then delegate administrative powers and responsibilities for expropriation to the authority or agency. A single authority or agency will ensure better coordination and uniformity of administrative processes, reduced red tape, and thus speedy delivery. It will also provide for a single point of accountability and reporting. I also propose that organs of state request the single authority agency to expropriate property and land on their behalf. One thing that we also need to commend today is that this hall is mostly made up of young people, because as those other people might have killed, dispossessed, and stolen the land from our forefathers, us as young black people, we refuse for that to happen again. And we will be active in the process to reduce and to expropriate this land and for it to come back to its rightful owners. Finally, I hereby submit that expropriating authority be redefined according to my proposals. Thank you.
Kamako. Kugalata lo uzeldanile isikhahlelo. Umzukulwana kaYintsathu. Umnikazi emhlaba. Lento kuthiwa inkosi ngomhlaba. Lento kuthethwa ngayo namhlanje eyona nto imandi kuthi sithi siyavumelana nembuyiseko yomhlaba ebanikazini babo ngezizathu ezithe kulomthetho ubekwa ngurhulumente ayazi ukuthi kodwa umuntu kuye funeka ukuthi xa kuqala uthethwa ngento yomhlaba kuplanwe naye wonke umuntu into edibene nomhlaba abe naye ukhona. Umzekelo sinamangcwaba lapha phansi kwale ntaba yetafile, amangcwaba enkosi, amangcwaba onke ethu thina abantu bangabathwa. Namhlanje akuthethwa ngento ezinjalo. Olalawulo lomhlaba sifuna uba yinxalenye yawo. Uke wathi omnye umthetha apha wathi namhlanje uninzi lethu sisebenza emaplazini sibe nezindlu emva kwendlu kabhasi emaplazini, kodwa indlela yobheka phaa uthi ubheka endlini yakho funeka ungahambe ubhabhe uwa phezu kwendlu yakho. Siyavuma mbutho omkhulu sisithi umhlaba mawubuyele ebanikazini bawo, kodwa ke into esiyijongileyo asifuni iZimbabwe South Africa. Xa kubhekise umhlaba ebanikazini babo babe nemithetho ezakwenza ukuthi balambe eziswini. Omnye umzekelo ubuthetha apha naba abantu emaweni bebhizi ngolimo leziqhamo ekufanele baziye ebantwini, kodwa namhlanje funeka zilawulwe ngabantu amakhulu. Camakho.
Greetings to you, Chairperson, and the House at large. I am Chief Galada, Hintsati's grandchild. One should know that a traditional leader is a recognized leader because of land. I support the bill. I also appreciate the fact that the government acknowledged the importance of consulting with people. We have grave sites with our forefathers lying there, and we cannot access part of the land where they are lying. The land must be restored to its rightful owners. However, we don't want to be like another Zimbabwe. So we do implore that the government should do things as they should be done, the most appropriate way. Thank you.
Ayethe nabezitha. Ayethe nabezitha. Ayethe nabezitha. Mandibulise kwisigqeba esihleli ngaphambili osopolitiki. Ndihloniphe wena sihlalo ngokubanzi nibulele nenyoba torho sinika yona sizinkosi zalapha eNtshona Koloni. Mandithethe tanci into yokuba nicothoza kakuhle ngoba inkululeko asinto evele nje ithwe gqi ibe seyiphuthwa iyakhululeka umuntu thatha ixesha. Mandigxininise ngelithi ndingu-wiseman mawethu Nude, Principal Chief yendlu yamaNdebele eNtshona Koloni, kwi-kingdom eyayisakulawulwa ngamaNdebele umusi elawulwa ngokumakhosonke wesibini. Bandinika ke imandithi uba mandibe lapha eNtshona Koloni ndiqhubekeke ngokumisa nokusapota umntu wakuthi omnyama. Ndimela izinyanya iinkosi ezawayo ngenxa yalo mhlaba, onkosi uSandile, onkosi uMaqoma, nazo zonke iinkosi ezawayo ziwela lo mhlaba. Inkosi ke yinkosi ngabantu, abantu bathethile and bagqibile, bathi umhlaba mawubuye. Ndinayo ke indawo endiyithandayo nangona khange ndiyifunde yonke nje le bill phaya ekugqibeleni ku-7.7 ethi nizawukhe niye phaya kwi-traditional house, National Traditional House, nikwazi uba khe niyova amacebo uba athini na. Ndixhasa ngakumbi into yokuba iinkosi abanini akwathatha kubo umhlaba abebemele abantu masithathe inxaxheba ephambili uqinisekisa into yoba umhlaba ubuyele ebantwini batshona abantu. Ikhona ke nje indawo ethi makulingwane, andaba makulingwane nabani na ke, kuba ndicinga into yoba umhlaba mawubuyele ebantwini ukuze abo ingengobawo umhlaba bacuntsulelwe ke noko, asizuthi mabahambe. Eyona nto ke ikhe yabaluleka yeyokuba kule mihlaba masibe khona i-traditional villages. Apha eNtshona Koloni kwathinjwa ilwimi, kwathinjwa even namasiko wethu. Ubuyaya kweza office ze-arts and culture kumhlophe phaya silawulwa ngabo, bakuxele kodwa zange weluka lo muntu akuxele ngokweluka, uba sukwelusa ngoku yelusa ngoku. Noko izinto ezikumila kanjalo zithanda ungaphili. Masigxininise into yokuba umhlaba sithetha ngawo asithethi nje ngalo sinyathela kuwo, sithetha nangomoya nangolwandle olu butye bugcwele apha elwandle. Yimayini yethu lena, funeka ubuyele ebantwini bulawulwe ngabantu. Kananjalo ke kukhona ke indawo endiyiqondayo uba amazwe aphesheya Europeans zihambela phezulu futhi ziyakhawulezisa whilst thina sibetha ngelo fudo inyawo. Ubuyajonga ngoku iifama ziyaphela, kugcwala ii-complex zabo, kugcwala nee-malls zabo. Ngelixa thina singenayo nento kunzima notyala umthi phambi kwendlu ngoba kaloku ufakwe kwi-cocoon into yoba sukumuva at all. And ndiyigxininisa into yoba kwi-properties ezithe zafumanisa zimiliselwe kumhlaba wethu nazo mazinikezelwe kubantu ngaphandle kwembuyekezo, ngaphandle kanye kwembatalo. Masibe kuba zihleli phezu komhlaba wethu, even noba masibeke esibhakabhakeni, uba zilapha eSouth Africa zikwisibhakabhaka sethu. So therefore masibuyele ebantwini kwindawo ezimiliselwe kuyo. Akukho namnye kumuntu esiza kumgxotha torho oqonda into obunako ukunyamezela makahlale nokuba ngowaphina kodwa ayazi umhlaba ubuyela ebantwini bawo, abantu bawo bawulawule inkosi ukutshoko ukuze abantu babe nesidima nesithozela, baphile kumhlaba wabo, baphile batyebe futhi kumhlaba wabo. Njengoba omnye umfana wekho acategorizer apha esithi kukumhlaba wentengiso, kukumhlaba olungiselwa makulinywe kuwo, kukumhlaba olungiselwa makuhlalwe kuwo. Ngoko mayenzeke ne-villages ayikho imfundo enobacalanye sifundiswe nge-European education ngelixa singafundisi nge-African education. Abantu bazokwazi uba attached to umhlaba. Impilo esemhlabeni ngaphandle komhlaba awunabomi. Camakho.
Thank you. My name is Ngosi Wiseman Mawetu Ndude. Greetings to you, Chairperson. The Western Cape traditional leaders appreciate this consultative process. As I'm standing here, I represent the traditional leaders of old, the likes of Maqoma and Sandile. I support that traditional leaders should be in the forefront in this process of land restitution. Amongst the proposals, I would specifically mention the construction or the development of traditional leaders. Nowadays, we are even told about circumcision by people who have nothing to do with it. The presence, therefore, of traditional leaders will give effect to things. The development of traditional leaders will therefore ensure that traditions and customs are not lost. We also, when we're talking about land, we're also talking about the riches in the ocean and in the air. Today, we are told by Europeans about things that we should and shouldn't do. They are building complexes, the land is diminishing because they are building complexes, and they are becoming even wealthier. Whereas we cannot even plant trees in our own yards because of space that is lacking. Properties must be given back. We're not going to chase anyone away. We will live together, but it will depend whether you behave. Traditional leaders need to live in their land and prosper with the people of the land. We educate our children about African matters. It is not proper that we can only be educated about European matters.
Ndizocela kuqala because I am informed banintsi kakhulu abantu abalapha phandle this side isincedise security baphume, then we bring in abantu bazokwazi ungena. Besitshilo ke sathi sizocela quietly ukwenzela into ba silantwini, but kwaba bantu bangenayo umuntu akaphindi ke umuntu ozothetha sicela angene apha. This is our very last round in terms of speaking. Abantu abazothetha iline. Now phum I know, uhlala phansi, there's still others that are coming. Indonaka, he has left now. We wanted to acknowledge our colleague, Honorable Faiz. I don't know why is he leaving. We said this side. Those that want to speak, they must come here. And this is the last round that we are opening up for speakers. And Councillor Sotache will be the last one to speak. Sifuna kwakhona samkele abantwana begazi abasijoyinileyo. Ndiyaxolisa kakhulu. Sifuna ukwamkela abantwana begazi. Sithi ke ngabantwana begazi thina kwela cala lethu. Inkosi zomthonyama ezisijoyinileyo zisuka kwindebele traditional house. Unkosazana Princess Maliwe Madayizana isandla nje nkosazana asibaphakamisa abantwana begazi. Princess unomhle Mcukuli, unkosi uGilizizwe Mabhumbulu, unkosi uSigenu. Siyanamkela zinkosi zakuthi. This is the last round ke ebantwini abazothetha. Imizuzu mithathu usichazela igama lakho, siyawuxhasa umthetho okanye siyawuxhasa umthetho ngezi zizathu. Uvumelekile ukuthetha ngolwimi othanda ukuthetha ngalo. Enkosi.
Much, Madam Chair. My name is Jabu Mfusi. I come from the African National Congress. We support the passing of the Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 into an Act of Parliament. My proposed amendment to the purpose of the bill is as follows. This Expropriation Bill number 23 of 2020 repeals the Expropriation of Act number 63 of 1975 that resulted in disproportionate distribution of and inequitable access to land. It gives effect to the following sections of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act number 108 of 1996. Section 25 that provides for the redress of past racially discriminatory laws or practices pertaining to land. Section 33, brackets 1, that provides for lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair administrative action. And Section 34 that provides everyone with the right to have any dispute resolved in a fair public hearing
before a court or another independent and impartial tribunal or forum. It enables expropriation of land in accordance with the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the Republic of South Africa. It enables government to expropriate land for the purpose of public good and interest, which result in equitable socio-economic development and growth of the Republic of our country, with nil compensation under circumstances defined in Chapter 5 in the bill for public interest for public purpose, and it provides for matters connected therewith. We hereby support this amendment bill. Thank you very much.
My name is Roger Graham. I'm a member of the Friends of the Meadowridge Common. And I just want to respond to one of the things which was said earlier about the Rondebosch Common. That 5% of the part of it is the only part that's useful, because that's all that's part of the indigenous vegetation. That is basically not looking at the other 95%, except for the idea of housing. But when you look at how much that Rondebosch Common is used, like the common I'm a chairman of, it is used for so much recreation by a great number of people and provides a green lung, and it also prevents the intrusion of alien vegetation. So I stand here as a member of the common to support the keeping of a common open, and so to provide recreational use. I would also like to add, as my individual capacity, what I see the land idea of restoring dignity to the people. Land only has value once it's used, once it's worked. If you have a piece of land, it's a liability until you actually manage to put money into it, put work into it. Now, if you give land, but you don't provide money that can allow it to be worked, how is it going to help? I don't see the compensation, they're taking the land without compensation to be working, because it's going to be ending up with people expecting the government to provide the money, but the government doesn't have that money to provide. And so you might have land being owned, but it doesn't lead to any form of dignity, because what results is just more poverty. So it's not necessarily a given that having land restored is going to provide a solution to the problems of the country. I think expropriation without compensation will actually result in more poverty, because it's going to drive out investment and discourage people having any form of security in their land, in their work. And if they don't have any security in their work, in their land, they won't actually provide much wealth out of it. And so there's just going to be a lack of money coming into the country and coming from the own citizens of the country for taxes. And so there won't be money to provide for those who want to actually be restored on it. Thank you.
Right, okay. Ndithi manibulise kusihlalo ngaphambili, ndibulise nabantu abaphethe le nkqubo namhlanje, ndibulise nomntu wonke lapha endlini. I Thandityalana from Ward 54. Anindiva? Ndiyavakala? Ndibulisile. NdinguThandityalana. Ndisuka eWaterfront, ndirepresenta iward lakwa Ward 54. Point to Camps Bay, ndi-BTT coordinator. Ndihlala kulaa mhlaba kuthiwa, well, siwuthile laa mhlaba. Sawuthiya sathi Ahmed Kathrada House. Ngokwasesilungini ke urhulumente umazi ndilibele ngoku igama because sisebenziseli lethu. It's the nurses' home. Ndiyayisapota kakhulu le bill, ngoba ndifuna uthetha ntsomi, ndithethe ngento e-futuristic or etheni. Ndifuna unixelela ngesiqu sam as somebody who has an experience ofike kwi-occupation eluze i-business engenanto. Ndahlala right in the heart of the inner city, in fact in a prime land which is V&A Waterfront, and I was able to put my life together And I was able to send my kids to school. If I didn't have money, they could walk to CPUT Oiwan, the other one of Manum Sebens, VNA Waterfront. That in Sahleli, ndakhangela business opportunities. I'm a social entrepreneur. My passion is to place youth in non-conventional sporting codes. And one of them, living Glandown Klelikuyin, for many opportunity, I'm the first black female and the first black person to own a club in the VNA Waterfront in the sport of dragon boat racing, where I take kids from disadvantaged communities into these highbrow areas and expose them. So if I had not lived in this well-located area, I would have never had that opportunity. I live in a safe environment, I have a sea view. Why can't we do that? And I just want to say to my fellow white brothers and sisters that I'm very sad and very disappointed that you guys are not here. You are not here. It means that this means nothing to you. It means that our history is meaningless to you. It means that you are not ready to redress spatial apartheid. Because if you want to redress poverty, you cannot talk about that without redressing issues of land. Because Glandau, it gives job opportunities, it's closer to amenities, schools, etc., etc. And then also, if Western Cape is a breadbasket of this country, so there are farms, there were talks of farms. So we can transfer skills. I heard the man before me saying that you cannot just give back land because it becomes a pointless exercise as our funo government. But why do we leave everything up to government every time? I think it's high time that the white community also takes responsibility for what the country is in the state that it's in. You can't leave everything to government to do. Sometimes I think we should go back to the drawing board as South Africans if we want to make this work. Because if you don't enforce these policies and use democracy as we are using it now, you're going to force South Africans to be bitter. And as a generation, I think we have a responsibility to make this work. Because if we don't, abantwana bazawulwa, nabantwana benu belungu, soze bonwabe. Enkosi.
Molweni, igama lam ndingusiyamcela Tanana. Ndiphuma kwindawo yasePhilippi, ndikulo mbutho kuthiwa i-EFF, okanye lo kuthiwa koqhwa idushe ngabantu abacimba abangcono. Mandime kule ndawo ndibulise inkosi kuqala, ngoba ndiphuma kwindawo enenkosi. Kunento endiyiphawuleyo ke apha ngaphakathi okanye ngondipha ngaphandle. Pha ngaphandle kunabantu abadala kakhulu endiqondayo into okokuba eli lwimi lokuphosisa okanye ndiyesixhoseni lokuxoka abaliva. Kodwa andiva xa kuthethwa lona becaciselwa ngeli labo ilwimi balithethayo. Xa niza kwenza into nabantu funeka iqala nibe nenyani. Uba kule ndlu nisibize ningenanyani anizuyenza le nto niyithethayo. Ndinezizathu zoba ndithethe le nto ndiyithethayo. Apha nithetha ngomhlaba abantu abawuthathileyo. Kodwa abantu baseMzantsi Afrika bathi nxa befuna imfuno zabo laa nto kuthiwa zee-rights ngoba bayavota kweli lizwe. Iba ngunoji xa kufanele uba bafumane imibane. UCity of Cape Town umve sithi umhlaba usawuxoxela njani, uxoxela njani umhlaba kodwa abantu bawuthathile wababona abantu. And unezinja azisebenzisayo afunza ngazo xa ifuna into yokuba aniphazamise laa nto kuthiwa i-law enforcement. Icinga uba fanuba okanye yona xa ibetha abantu ayibetheki. Ukuba ngabani izinto xa ziqhutywa kweli lizwe zizawuqhutywa ngeli hlobo liqhutywa ngalo ngoba le iprovinsi sikuyo sithetha sikuyo yiprovinsi ye-racism. Akekho umuntu ongayaziyo i-Western Cape isene-racism apha eSouth Africa. Futhi loo nto leyo funeka ndiyithethe straight apha phambi kwenu bantu bakuthi. Uba ngabani izawungena rongo ke ngoba ngabanye abantu inyaniso ingena rongo kum ndidalelwe into yoba ndiyithethe inyaniso noba ndiyithethe njani na. Ukuba ngabana kunyanzelekile siyifele le South Africa okanye siwufele lo mhlaba weli lizwe sizawufela. Ngoba sabe singangobokuqala ukufela iSouth Africa. Abazali bethu abekho namhlanje. Babulawa ngongcothoza bebabulalela ubutyebe babo obusibulwelayo thina namhlanje. Ukuba ngabana kunyanzelekile silwe apha silwele nditsho ngqu ulwandle olu lube ngakuthi sizalulwela nalo ngeli hlobo sizalulwela ngalo. Ikakade kuthi ze kulunge kuphala legazi. Enkosi.
Good day, Chairperson. and everybody in the house. My name is Siamcela Tanana from Philippi. I'm an EFF member. I'd like to give due respect to our traditional leaders that are present today. I first would like to make this, I'd like to first say this. I noticed that there are old people sitting outside. And what I've observed since I've come here is that only when the English that is spoken is not interpreted, so they may understand, but only when people speak in Xhosa that it is interpreted, and when they speak Afrikaans that it is interpreted into English. I therefore should think that that should be taken care of. I want to implore that that people be honest with issues here. When people need rights, you always hear that there must be consultation first. Specifically, the city of Cape Town, when there is something that needs to be implemented, they speak about consultation, and they have this attitude, or rather they always have this process of calling for law enforcement that will drive people away, or that people will be faced with when they're fighting for their rights. People must know that this province is still racist, and very racist. If it means that we die for this land, then we will die. Today we have no parents as they died fighting for this land. We are therefore not afraid of doing such. Land needs to return to its rightful owners, and that must be done as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mandiqale ndithi ingqangi nentsiba zayo. Igama lam ndinguXola wakwaManyisane, we-EFF, uchairperson wakwa Ward 89. Ndiphuma kulo mbutho we-EFF. Uba ndikhumbula kakuhle zizihlandlo ngezihlandlo sithetha lento inye. Bendicela ke ngokwindlu yaseParlamente ibiyagqibelisa usibiza namhlanje sisazocebisa ngokuthathwa komhlaba ngaphandle kwembuyekezo. Sicela xa isibizayo again isibize for yo celebrator obumhlaba wethu ubuyele wonke ezandleni zabantu abamnyama. Khange sithume ke iParlamente singabami balapha eSouth Africa uba mayikhangela imali yobhatala abantu abamhlophe o abo bantu for umhlaba wethu. Lo mhlaba uthathwe ngembumbulu kwaphalala igazi. Ithi ke ngokulonto asityali bantu ngomhlaba ngowethu, and la mali if iyabaxaka xa besiye ekhaya elisha siqubhe enyunywini kwi-drains every day, uthi urhulumente akanamali, events amapolisa umzekelo ekhaya elisha ipolice station inengingqi eziyi-17 kodwa ineveni eziyi-2 zamapolisa. So sicela la mali baplana ngayo ubhatala okanye imbuyekezo for umhlaba, bathathe la mali bophuhlisa ibhizinesi abantu abamnyama, zonke inkonzo zihambe ngendlela. Enkosi.
I didn't get the surname of the gentleman, but I got his name. My name is Tola. I apologize, Chairperson, I didn't get the surname of the gentleman. All protocol observed, I would like to begin by saying that this has been happening for a long time. This consultative process has been happening for a long time. We don't want to be called for it again. We want to be called only for celebrations next time. As the EFF, we specifically didn't ask the government to go and look for money for compensation. If there's so much money, then that money should be used to support black businesses. In certain areas like Kailicha, for instance, that covers certain other areas, there are no police vans because the government says there's no money. But now you are here talking about compensation. The land must be returned to its rightful owners without compensation. Thank you.
Molweni bemi bamZantsi Afrika. Igama ngoViziyalo, ifani nguMadolo, ndiphuma eDanunu kuWard 104. Ndikulombutho ubangela uba sibe kanti silapha. Masingayiphazami le nto. Ayingo-government obangela uba sibe lapha. Kulombutho ndikuwo obangela uba masibe lapha. U-government makayeke uhayijeka. Okokuqala Chairperson, andi-understand into yoba ngaba ipalamente ikhupha imali engaka. Singulombutho asi-understand into yoba ngaba ipalamente ikhupha imali engaka. Even if ibingekho ngaka, even if ibincinci, asi-understand uba bekuthenze kubekho imali kwasekuqaleni xa kuthethwa ngomhlaba, ngobuyiso lomhlaba owaxuthwa kootata bethu, kwabulawa abantu. Eyona nto ibifanele uba yenzekile, ibifanele uba ngaba kuvele kwabuyiselwa umhlaba ebantwini. Laa nkokheli ibike yalapha yathi ibingaske ngoku singaphinde sibe santi sizohlala apha. Ndithetha nje apha kule ndawo ndikuyo ndixhelekile because phaya eDanunu abantu bahlala without i-toilet, abanye bahlala phezu kwabanye. Inoba benibonile na izolo. Kodwa imihlaba around iDanunu yamabhulu ekuthiwa ngoVelballoon, i-aim ayisebenzi. Kodwa sihleli apha si-waste ixesha, si-waste i-resources zika-government. Sithetha ngobuyiso lomhlaba. SAWS yile nto bangaba kubekho imbuyekezo. So we didn't give iParliament a mandate to find a ways to pay for a land that was stolen to our forefathers. Our land is not deal, sense deal apha sifuna umhlaba back. But since you are here, you must know that our position remains the same as umbutho we-EFF. We want all land to be expropriated okanye ubuyiswe without imali okanye imbuyekezo. This is the only way we will address amakoloniane. We made our submissions into two, Parliament public hearing on the land question. And we told members of the Parliament to go and amend the constitution, of which to allow for ubuyekezo lomhlaba and all land without imali. Chairperson, we don't understand why Parliament is spending much money on this process when there is a process to amend the constitution, and then after amending the constitution, the committee must bring into yonke lento ibifanele uba iyasinika. I thank you.
My name is Viziyalo Madolo from Danun, Ward 104 from the EFF. Everybody here must know that this idea first came up with the EFF. So therefore government must stop hijacking other organizations' ideas. Land should just have been restituted, actually. I'm hurt because in Danun, there aren't even toilets. However, there's land lying there, but we cannot touch it because it belongs to a certain person. Parliament wasn't given a mandate to look for money. There should be no deals, therefore, to be negotiated here. All land must be expropriated without compensation. Chairperson, the process should be to amend the Constitution first, and not what we've been called here for. I therefore support the idea that land should be given to its rightful owners without compensation for those who currently own it.
Molweni izinkokheli, igama lam ndinguNomandla Mthiyane ndihlala phaa kwaLanga, ndiphuma kaWard 51. Mandibulele ngeli thuba ngoba amaxesha amaninzi siyazibona izinto but singayazi uba singathetha phi singazi-expressa phi. Ndingomnye wabantu othanda kakhulu ukulima. Ndingomnye wabantu opursuer i-career kwi-agriculture. I have done workshops, I've gone to workshops. And I decided that I want to do something about it, not to just go to workshops. So, unfortunately, khange ndibe nendawo yokulima, khange ndibe namhlaba, because umhlaba awukho. And I just hope, ngokuba kona kwenu apha, izaba khona into ezawutshintsha. Kuzawuqaliswa kwenziwe izinto instead uba siqhubeke sithetha singenzi. Umzekelo, yenzile workshops ndenza yonke into kodwa ndadecide ukuthi okay zikhona indawo zikhona izikolo ezinemihlaba ngemva but nazo awusukungene uthi ndifuna ulima. You have to go through a process uthi ndicela ukulima ndicela lo mhlaba. Fortunately apha kwaLanga eSan Francis kune creature phaya ngemva ndabona laa ndawo ndacela, so I'm busy with that, and I would hope ukuthi i-Department of Agriculture Western Cape would recognize us as women that want to pursue a career kwi-agriculture, because kunabantwana abafundayo but not wonke umntana ofundayo uzawuphumelela agraduate, because not wonke umuntu intelligent. So i-agriculture inganceda because ngumsebenzi wezandla. Singabantu abamnyama umsebenzi wethu kakhulu usezandleni. Ubutyebi bethu busezandleni. If unekhaya elisemakhaya e-Eastern Cape, xa ugodukile ufika umhlaba ulele. Kunemihlaba emikhulu ekhaya kusele idifre kubengu. Kunemihlaba kunamasimi. Apho ufika khona amasimi alele. Akalelanga because abantu abanokwenzanto abanazi resources. And if banganikwa izinto babalime, thina ngoku silapha singagoduka umuntu ahamba athi mandiyolima because ubutyebi bulapha bukhoyo. Ndiyabulela zinkokheli.
My name is Nomandla Mthiyane. Chairperson, I appreciate the opportunity afforded to us today. I am pursuing a career in agriculture and I've been attending workshops and various other various other educational processes. However, I cannot practice what I've learned as there's no land for me to do so. There are schools that have pieces of land. However, there's a process to follow and it takes a bit of time. I found a piece of land though behind St. Francis Adult School, and that is where I'm doing what I've managed to learn. Chairperson, I would like you and or Parliament to realize that there are learners who may not necessarily be interested in, or rather may be interested in doing agriculture. But because there is no land for them to practice so, it becomes then a challenge and it can be frustrating. I, for instance, come from Lady Frey Kubengu. I would love to practice agriculture there. People would love to practice agriculture there. However, there are no resources. If people could be provided with resources to plant their land, I'm one of the people who would go back. Many of us would go back home to practice. Thank you.
Mandibulele ke kumhlali ngaphambili no chairperson. Igama lami ndingusibulele Khatia, ndisuka eKhayelitsha kwa Ward 93 kwi-organization ekuthiwa iMayiche Social Movement. Ndiyayibulela namba lapha. Xa kuthethwa ngomhlaba uyalibulala kakhulu thina izakhono zethu silulutsha. Into esesikwazi uoccupyela bamasithini masenza kufaka amatyotyombe. Akho misebenzi, akho ntoni, and then i-language yenu ukhulumento sinaye isithuba ngabantu makasithumele amapolisa. Amapolisa sawabona njengabantu abazothini abazoseva okanye abazosave. Sibabona njengabantu abathini abajonge usibulala kwangantoni kwangalamiphu sasileqwa ngayo. So sicela umhlaba wokhokho bethu bethuna inkosi namathamba leleyo ngokwashukume uze umhlaba ubuyele kuthi ngoba siphelelwa ngoku zizakhono singotata abangongotata ngoba akho misebenzi. So siyimayitshe siyibulela kakhulu into yangabana sibe lapha, and then umhlaba bakungamane kuthethwa because into yokuthethwa kwawuthethwa ngoku mhlawumbi kuba kuzawuvotwa kuvote local government. Sinqwenela uyibona lento enithetha apha isenzeka umhlaba mawubuyele kuthi. Asidingi singabanye uba makani masiphangele kuthiwe sisemsebenzini. Siyakwazi ulima sivuke sitye but ngoku i-system yeni siphushela phi eshop whereby singenamali. Ngoku funa sihambe siyothenga igwava siyothenga ipesika into esasizilima but asikwazi uzilima. So sicela ugovernment bethunana enze indlela abuyise umhlaba, and angabuyisa umhlaba ngoba ezasakhela izindlu azakhela itoilet. Sifuna ukulima, sifuna nathi ukhulise zethu izakhono whereby that kungaba kwindawo ezithengisa izinto zethu. Sithunga amadakha ezilokishini but ngoku you will go eBellville uzafika eBellville ethengiswa ngabantu bangaphandle amadakha. So idignity ayisozibe khona kuthi ngaphandle kwantoni komhlaba. So sicela ke iparliament kube kanti ayizanga zodlala ngathi nokuza kwethu apha sidibanise i-10 rand zethu kuba sifuna uthini sifuna ukwenza itshintsho. Siyacela ke kubahlali ngaphambili urhulumente wethu osiphetheyo namanye ke i-organization ezilwayo ukuthi makulunge izinto but makungathethwa sidinwe kube kuthethwa ngoku makwenziwe. Ndihamba nalaqaba belithe sifuna ucelebrate ngocelebrate ntoni umhlaba. Umhlaba esilembo ukhona but funa sithenga igrapes, funa sithenga ipesika. Zizinto ezisemhlabeni wethu. Ingathi sithi abantu bavakashileyo apha. So akuzuliwa namntu, asifuni ukuba kuthiwe kuliwana but umhlaba mawuze kuthethwe. Naloo language uba abantu xa kufikwa kubekwa amapolisa uba hayi masibadubulele okanye masibafake namanzi masithini. Singabantu asozilwakanyana masingathethwa ngathi xa kuthiwa nathi kuthethwe ngembumbulu. Siyimayitsha sivumelani tu naloo nto leyo. And kwiilokishi esihleli kuzo ii-drains akho zitoilet. Mna ndisuke eSilvertown apho kwakutshe khona ii-promises ayenziwe ngugovernment kwa Ward 93 abantu abangazi-ID books nangoku yinto yango-2018 but ugovernment wathi emveni uba kutshile disaster yakhe wathi I will sort everything out. Sidiniwe kuqhathwa maqabane sifuna kubhekwe phambili sifumane umhlaba wethu.
Good day, my name is Sibulele Khatia from Khayelitsha. Chairperson, I didn't quite get the word and the organization's name. I think it's Mayete. Mayiche. It's a youth organization. It's Mayiche. Chairperson, I would like to point this out that we do not appreciate your language that is always about police. We need the land. That is quite clear. And we ask that traditional leaders should help in the process. We want the land back, please. Your system wants us to only buy things that we can actually grow ourselves. Guavas, peaches, grapes that are grown in Stellenbosch, for instance. Even German prints, our people used to do those themselves. But now if you go to places like Belleville, you would find they are produced by people who are not from the country. Stop playing games with us. Stop playing games with us. This process has to come to an end. There are no more, we want no more talks now. We want to celebrate, as another gentleman had mentioned here before. We don't have money, but the little that we could have, we paid to come to this place and partake in this process. We are always fought against when we're raising issues about the land and or our rights. We are not animals. Stop treating us as such. There are no drains, no toilets in the areas that we live in. We are tired of lies. I lived in an area that was destroyed by fire in 2018. But since today, no resources, no infrastructure has been provided in that area. Thank you.
Greetings to the House. Igama lami ndinguLinda Mazwi, ndisuka ekhaya elitsha kwa Ward 98. Chairperson of the session, ndisuka kulo mbutho we-EFF. As EFF chairperson, we do not understand why the parliament is spending so much money in this bill. Because as a committee, you can just bring the legislation informed by the Constitution. You can bring the legislation informed by the Constitution. EFF is very clear on its first non-negotiable cardinal pillar, which is expropriation of land without compensation. And we still remain that the land should be transferred to its rightful owners and custodians. The selling of land does not speak to us as black people. Sifuna umhlaba wethu, njengabanikazi bomhlaba. And as EFF, we even note the delay tactics. Kumane kusiziwa ebantwini, kuzothiwa mabathethe. Kudala sithetha, elo ixesha lokuthetha lidlule. While we are busy negotiating, while we are busy sending our inputs, the municipality is selling the land like hot fries. Sizawuthi sigqiba upasiswa lona umbono ube ungasekho umhlaba. Naleyo into siyijongile. Chairperson, since you are here ke, sifuna ukuxelela into yokubana uhambise umpapasho into yokubana EFF ithi umhlaba mawubuyele ebantwini bawo kwaye bangabhatali. Black people in South Africa need their land to farm. Umhlaba asufuni kuphela okokubana sibeke ishacks. Sifuna to restore our dignity. Nathi sifuna umhlaba, we want to farm just like the white people. We even note the racist government in this Western Cape province. And even in these amendments, ayikho into ebonakalisayo into yokubana kuza kuthiwani na ngabantu bethu abaharasayo when they take their land. Lastly, Chairperson of the session, there is no legislation that is above the Constitution. Thank you.
My name is Linda Mazwi. I'm an EFF member. I hope Chairperson, she said Kylie Cha. Okay. I do not understand why, Chairperson, there has to be so much money spent on this bill when you actually can bring legislation. We want our land. As the EFF, we note the delaying tactics that you are practicing, and we do not appreciate it. By the time things become clear, all the land will have been sold out by the municipality, because that is what we are observing. The municipality is selling land like hotcakes. we are going to miss out. The EFF says expropriation without compensation. Land is needed to restore the dignity of the people. People are harassed when they're talking about land, and we want this to stop. I thank you.
Good evening or good afternoon. My name is Mfusi Zonke from the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. I'm representing here the province. I'm the education desk in the province. First and foremost, as the Pan-Africanist Congress, we are not going to comment on the bill itself, because the bill is talking about the expropriation of land. Be with or without compensation, it does not matter to the Pan-Africanist Congress. Pan-Africanist Congress does not support any dispossession of a property from its owner. Rather, the Pan-Africanist Congress will support an action whereby land is restored to its former owner in its former condition and in its former place. I've already said that Pan-Africanist Congress will not comment on the bill, but rather will give guidance in this House that the land question is sensitive not only to the dispossessed masses of our people. It is sensitive also to the multinationals who continue to abuse and frustrate the dispossessed masses of our people, who continue to exploit our resources, the natural resources. We are made to believe now, when we talk about land, I've been listening, I was outside, everyone thinks we are talking about arable land. The gold, diamond, every mineral resource that is in this land is the one that made people who took this land by barrel of a gun now refuse to return the land. To our utmost understanding as the Pan-Africanist Congress, land belongs to the dead, to the living and the unborn. So land is not a commodity to be sold. And we want this forum to send a clear message in Parliament that let us stop making land as a football. This soap that is being made around the issue of land, it should come to an end. We are made now to fight amongst ourselves with the crumbs that are left. But the real core is gone. The resources of this country are leaving this country, leaving our people with nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to the House and good afternoon to the chairperson of the session. My name is Vui Swanzakana from the Langa Business Forum. We sincerely appreciate the Parliament for bringing Parliament to the people about this bill. As Langa Business Forum, we support the bill. This bill is very crucial and very important to the business community, especially to the SMMEs, because to us, it speaks to the socio-economic development of the country.
The only few worrying areas in the bill, I must say that I think it's just one clause maybe, like clause 2. The clause 2, which states, despite the provision of any law to the contrary, and expropriating authority may not expropriate the property of a state-owned or a state-owned entity without concurrence of the executive authority responsible for that corporation or entity. We have noted in several areas, from national, provincial, to even to the local government, the properties that are actually sitting there, not being used or not being used for the intended purposes, while this businesses are actually struggling to have use of those properties. There is too many players in the land space with own and different set of rules, especially by the 3 spheres of government. We are struggling with no trading spaces or areas in Langa and other areas for informal businesses and formal businesses for that matter. We have a huge property at Lone Power Station that has been vacant for years. That could be used by businesses or that could be developed for business purposes. Even goes outside our neighbors, for people who are involved in the construction and building development projects, wanting to serve or to service the community. We have places in the Western Cape like Roundabout Common that could be restructured or declared as restructured zones for social housing, whereby houses can be built there for our children who are coming from the UCT and all those areas, and revive that area as well to become a serious economic activity areas. So as a result of that, this bill, actually it gave us a problem when you looked at it because it's got too many contradictions. These too many contradictions, they are very worrying because they can actually allow loopholes for people who are actually enemies of progress on this bill and end up trying to litigate everything that's in the bill. So we are proposing as Langa Business Forum that there are certain clauses that we'd like them to be deleted. One of those clauses are the executive authorities that the bill keeps on talking about to have concurrence authority.
The time is up.
So we actually saying that, thank you. All right. Okay, I will submit. Thank you so much.
Ndibulisa wonke umuntu okhoyo namhlanje apha. Igama lami ndinguzweli yethu. Ndisuka eMontclair. Ndibulele nangale opportunity uba ndizothetha nam namhlanje. I'm not here to speak on behalf of just myself or to speak about my challenges when it comes to the matter of the land, but I'm here to speak about something that is a common ground for all of us. What is putting us here today is a historical injustice. And, well, I think we need to define it, this injustice, because it's not just one thing that has happened. It was an injustice for people to come, for foreigners to come here and kill black people for the land. That is the first injustice. But there is a second injustice now. They also took the land and turned it into a commodity. They started to sell the land. How was that an injustice to us African people? It was an injustice because land was not for sale. We were not selling the land, we were not buying the land. We had, well, I don't know how to call it, but some of us would reason with it as an office or whatever. But the king, there were kings and there were also chiefs. You would just go to the king or the chief to ask for the piece of land and it would be given to you. So now, if we say we are here to fix a historical injustice, we should now go back and say, how did things go before? Well, we all know that it was not for sale. So because we are here to fix that injustice, the Constitution should say then, simple, that land is not for sale because it was not for sale before, and we are fixing an injustice. So I don't understand why in this bill now we have to try and accommodate things such as the price or whatever compensation, because when we are here because Julius Malema spoke about, proposed a motion in Parliament, and that motion was about expropriating the land without compensation. Now I do not understand. Now we are also finding a bill that now is speaking of compensation, because we are talking about expropriating without compensation. So for justice to be served, there must be nothing that speaks about money here in this thing. It must say that land is not for sale in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Ndingumadiba suke Ward 57 suka EFF. Chairperson, we do not understand why Parliament is spending money on this process when there is a process.
Sorry, Gangi.
Sorry.
We can't allow that everyone has to speak, guys.
But this is a party position.
No, I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
I said just allow me to address that. We stopped the line somewhere there, but someone moves here, someone goes to the line. We cannot allow that. Okay, please security, sit down. Please security, no one must come in then. Yes, thank you.
Can I speak?
As the person that I'm chairing the meeting, I was addressing something, so please wait for me. I will give you the chance to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you, Chairperson. As I was saying that we do not understand why Parliament is spending money on this process when there is a process to amend the Constitution. Then after amending the Constitution, then this committee must bring as legislation informed by Constitution. We made our submissions in 2 Parliament public hearings on the land question. We told members of Parliament to go and amend the Constitution so that we can allow expropriation of land without compensation into the state custody. We are concerned that the expropriation bill that you want us to make input on is legislation that must tell us. Now the Constitution allows for expropriation of land without compensation. This is how the state is going to expropriate land. This is how the land is going to be distributed, everyone equal, and this is how our right to use the land is going to be protected. But since you must hear, you must know that our position remains the same. We want to expropriate land without compensation. This is the only way that we address colonial land dispossession and the legacy of apartheid. We did not give Parliament a mandate to find ways to pay for the land. Our land is not a commodity, it is not for sale. The expropriation bill is an unnecessary distraction, and we see it as a way to hijack the real struggle of black people, and will not solve the question of land. The money that is available to pay for land must be given to black small-scale farmers. Black people in South Africa need their land to farm, build houses, and build businesses, and the expropriation bill is not going to help us in doing any of these things. No legislation is above the Constitution. Thank you, Chairperson.
Afternoon to everyone. My name is Mihlali Mtsotso from the EFF. We have made 2 submissions into public parliament hearings on the land question. And we told the members of the parliament to go and amend the constitution to allow for expropriation of the land without compensation. And it should be given to the custody of the state. But since you are here, you must know that our position remains the same. We want the land to be expropriated without compensation. And this is the only way we're going to address the colonial land dispossession and the legacy of the apartheid. And we did not give the parliament a mandate to find ways to pay for the land that was stolen. And our land is not a commodity, and it should not be for sale, and it is not for sale. The money that is available to pay for the land must be given to the black small-scale farmers. And all the black people in South Africa, they need the land to build houses, farming, and build businesses. And when we're talking about land, we are not only talking about the soil, we are also talking about the resources of our land. So if you are going to take our resources and you pay for the people that took our land by force, now it does not speak to the economical freedom that we need. And the legislation is not above the Constitution. So we do not understand why the Parliament is spending so much money in the processes that we are having now to amend the Constitution. Because there's a process to amend the Constitution, and we need to do so. Then it is this committee that should come and give us a legislation that speaks and is informed by the Constitution, not one that is parallel to the Constitution. Thank you.
Sorry, we allow Comrade Sotashe, he was going to be the last one, but a lot of people came in that we didn't know, but we'll give him the chance to speak and then we'll continue with the queue. Councillor Sotashe.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Golani, my surname is Sotashe. I'm from the African National Congress. As a disclaimer, Chair, let me rebut any insinuations that this bill brings about confusion. What brought confusion to the whole spectrum is Act number 63 of 1975, which the bill seeks to repeal that particular act. So we're bringing context in terms of this exercise. So anybody that suggests that the bill is bringing confusion must actually read the bill. Before the act, there is a bill. This is a process that we have to go through before we enact the act. So these are the basic principles of any process of formulating a legislation. So if you don't understand the basic principles of formulating the legislation, get help somewhere. The second issue, Chair, that I want to deposit here is that we must commend the committee, because one of the fundamental principles of any effective democracy is to consult people. This process of public participation is an important exercise, because at the end, this bill that is going to be an act at the end must have the ownership of people. So we suggest as African National Congress that the bill must actually give a specific reference to effect, Section 25 of the Constitution, that speaks about redress, the redress of the past racial discriminatory laws of practices, which were referred to that section, number 63 of 1975 Act. It must also give effect to Section 33, subsection 1 of the Constitution. It must also pay a special attention to Section 34 of the Constitution. It also must enable expropriation of land in accordance with the Constitution as the supreme law of the country. And finally, the purpose of this bill must to give effect to public good, and also that will result to equitable socio-economic transformation. This bill is about two things: attend to issues of property and land, no other issues. That's what the bill seeks to address. Thank you very much. As such, it must be able to expropriate those two issues that I've mentioned. Thank you very much, Chair.
ezinkosini ezikho phakathi kwethu inkokhelo zokuhlala amagqirha amalungu eParlamente nawo wonke umuntu okhoyo ngumhlali. Naw ngixolela izwi lami lincinci kakhulu. Kodwa ke ndawuzama ukhwaza. Ndiyaqiniseka into kokuba ngaba njengoba utata esitsho into kokuba ngaba utata osuka apha le indlela eya kwisolotya. Kodwa ke ndiyaqiniseka uba eya kumthetho sisekelo. Ndiyaqiniseka uba akho solotya likhulu kunomthetho sisekelo. Ikhona i-constitution and i-clear. Le bill andiyiboni into eyawuthi izise la mathuba siwakhalelayo singabantu abatsha nabemi boMzantsi Afrika, which is ukulima nokwakha izindlu nokuqala amashishini ethu. Imali ukuba ngaba ikhona mayisapote zonke zonkalo. Umhlaba mawuthathwe ubuyiswe ebantwini. Asikho isidingo ke sento kokuba ngaba lo exercise leyo yenziwe ngendleko. Ngoba ndiqinisekile uninzi lwenu nonke udaba niyalazi. IParlamente ke iyayazi uxanduva into kokuba ngaba lume ndawoni na ngokuthathwa komhlaba. Kodwa ke kuba ke eneneni ke senilapha ningamalungu eParlamente, nami ndifuna ukubethelelwa le ndawo seyibethelelwe ngoogxa bami into kokuba ngaba umhlaba mawuthathwe wabiwe kuluntu lonke ngokulinganayo. Indawana nje ukugqibela enqonela into kokuba ngaba ndiyibethelele yokokuba ngaba iParlamente mawulungise umgaqo siseko ingakumbi indawo ebesezibaliliwe kwixa lingaphambili nangabantu abathethileyo kule ndawo. Umbutho ke we-EFF une position and ke kudala siyibetha lo position and one of the position is that iParlamente we've made a submission yethu on the land question and sawaxala amalungu eParlamente into kokuba ngaba mawahamba alungisa umgaqo siseko ngalenyewe so that into umhlaba uzobuyela kwi-state. We were very concerned ke Expropriation Bill and we want to make this input and we want to emphasize it into kokuba ngaba asikho isizathu esibangela into kokuba ngaba umhlaba xa ubuyiselwa kubanikazi bawo bawuthenge. Umhlaba awuthengiswa. Inkosi ziyayazi umhlaba umke njani, inkokheli zemibutho politiko ziyayazi umhlaba umke njani. Ebhlungu ke into yile into kokuba ngaba bona banezinto abazixhamlayo, thina singabantwana bomgquba akukho nto siyixhamlayo. Kuzawufika ilixa ke nangoku selikhona le nto kokuba ngaba lo mhlaba siwuthathe ngale ndlela wawuthathwe ngawo. Okwangoku sinqwenela into kokuba ngaba urhulumente azi into kokuba ngaba siyayicela futhi siyayibongoza into kokuba ngaba umhlaba mawuthathwe ubuyisele kubanikazi bawo ngokwendlela izinto ezithethwa ngayo. Kungenjalo kuzaba nzima.
Yemkamolose to the traditional leaders, the traditional healers, the members of Parliament, and everyone here. I am sure all of us knows how our land was taken, and I'm sure the previous speaker has said that all these processes are leading to talk to what the Constitution says. We as the youth, we do not see any opportunities that are going to be created by this law that are bringing joy to us as the young people. Land must be expropriated and be shared to all the people, and the land should not be sold And we as Parliament, we gave you permission to go and amend the Constitution. So as the EFF, we are very clear with our point that the land must be expropriated and be shared among the people. There's no need for the land to be sold. The traditional leaders and everybody, even the politicians, knows how the land was taken from our people or how our people were dispossessed. Yes, we are beating around the bush because some of you are benefiting something that we do not benefit. Time will come that we will fight for the land and restore it in the same way it was taken away from us. So we're pleading with you that expropriate land and give it to the people without selling it, or else we'll resort to the same modus operandi that was employed when the land was taken.
Ake leboge wena, chairperson of the session. Greetings, can you hear? Okay. Greetings to the floor at large. Nna ka leina ke mpoletsang Radingwane, ke tswa ko EFF. We are here because of the Expropriation Bill. Ours as EFF is one, and we will forever be pushing it up until it is implemented, up until it is amended in the Constitution. Because we must put in mind and bear in mind that a legislation it is not higher than the Constitution. Why is it that we need to expropriate land and compensate people for land that was taken forcefully from us without us being compensated? For as long as land is being compensated, for as long as land is being expropriated and compensated, we will forever push the agenda of expropriation without compensation for the people which are black, marginalized, and disadvantaged. Thank you.
And Mancheloni what would Nendifim Funzenu Ramano and the EFF Linel Kuliduangam Rangapanda, capable leader of which is Julius Malima. And the Tomangombo expropriation bill. I assume now I said to be a Shimana Ngaro naturally David. And they said then I wanted to negotiate with her. Guess not tender. Dikure? Am I that far? Okay. Zukwini nyanane. Okay, and go to Ndandige. Narika disumbezo hema fungo expropriation bill. Angas debi arshimena uti. So fungar za paramende. Ariza mudana ingwindi ya kwini nyana. Ine comes dorushimera. Ine ndirione ya kwini. Du kobekana shango. Kandu jia shango usindandiliso ndio nendele ndifunga the shuma ngamanda ngori if ranga sezafa noni awona na muthu na mthi we a pandela ya uri ri shimse tshede ngafha ngafha kha izwi zwine zwikho to itwa ine vha kha expropriation bill. So funga ri khare na ingwindi ya khwine bonyana ngori a ikho shuma na uthi. And then nesa some ndo imapha ndo ndili EFF ndika the maintainer ndi ni le ri ko tea ri kovokanye shango usina ndiliso nga uranga do bara cheka una bathu banji vhane vha khou ita nthu vha khou ita zwa vhulimi. And nga murahu hanefho ba fhedza vha ḓa vha sogola wana shango. So ndi sopfa ungari nga nḓila nda zwi vhea ngayo zwi khwine nyana zwi a pfala. So ndi kha ḓi ri let's actually expropriate land without compensation. Amandla.
Greetings to the chairperson and the house at large. My name is Avuzwa Jonas. I'm from the EFF. As the EFF, ours is one. A land must reflect the demographics of the country. And we are very adamant on that. Our position is that we must expropriate land without compensation. It can't be that we're entering a process of paying for land that was taken from us forcefully. It was not even asked. So, Chairperson, we submitted in Parliament that we must expropriate land without compensation, because each and everyone in Parliament that is black combined has the majority, and if one day they could decide that they want to expropriate land for real, that can happen. So ours is one. We want to expropriate land without compensation, and we are unchanging, and we will take it, the land, with whatever means that are necessary. This is just one of the avenues we are exploring. Thank you very much.
Ndizibulisele igama lam ndinguNicholas Tusubana. Ndibulise usihlalo wale nhlalo sinayo namhlanje. Ndibulise umuntu othe wakhona phakathi nendlu nabantu abathe bazidina baza kulo mcimbi womhlaba. Chairperson, eyona nto ingamandla ibethayo kuyo yonke lento iphinde silahle ukuba i-constitution ivumile ukuba umhlaba mawubuyele phi ebantwini. Kodwa into sibonayo zi-delay tactics ezenziwa iParliament emani ihlala i-hearings. Oko sihlala i-public hearings, akabikho nomuntu wokuqala ekuthiwa ufumene kule nto besihlalela yomhlaba eziba kwakuvunyiwe, akho nto yenzeka nje at all. Eyona nto ingamandla, siyawazi umhlaba usuka phi. Kufe i-1,000 iimiliyoni zabantu eMzantsi kusulela lo mhlaba, kufe inkokheli, kwafa igraduate, kwafa amagqwetha kusulela lo mhlaba. But iyasothusa namhlanje xa kuzawuthi ngoku imajority iye yabantu abamnyama phaa kulaa Parliament, kube nzima umhlaba mawuphinde ubuyele phi ebantwini bawo. Kuba kaloku imajority eParliament ngabantu abamnyama xa sinothetha nge-ANC ne-EFF imibutho. Iminority seyiminority ngolaa hlobo, kodwa iminority yiyo ebambe umhlaba, ebanjwe isapotwa yintoni yimajority. Yiloo nto isibethayo ke ngoku asazi bizawuhamba iphelele phi loo nto, because ibonakala ngathi abantu bamandele ukubhenefitha nokuthini nokutya amagazi abantu. Kuba umhlaba kufanele kudala ubuyele ebantwini. Nangoku kunzima kwekhoveza, kunzima nje ukwakhelwa abantu oveza. Into emane isenzeka ubona ngokwindawo kokho kuzoveza kufaka izecurity. It's all about i-benefits yonke le nto. Siyacela ke mhlali ngaphambili sicela umhlaba ubuyele ebantwini. Kuba kunzima kweza lokishi sikuzo. Kwa ii-project eziphethwe kweza lokishi zikuzo ezendawo ezinemihlaba right ziphethwe ngo-VPUU, ziphethwe zilento ziikhampani zaphi zamabhulu phi endaweni zethu. So umuntu omnyama akakabi nalo ilungelo emhlabeni, kodwa sisamile si-EFF sithi cela umuntu omnyama anikwe indawo. Kanti imeni ngezi public hearings ziyasilibazisa, kanti sinike nomhlaba into sicela ngamandla. Enkosi.
I am Nicholas, excuse me, Chairperson, I did not get the surname. Greetings to the chairperson and everybody present here. Third, the major thing here is that the Constitution does allow us that the land should be given to the people. But what we see is just the delaying tactics. These public hearings are just the delaying tactics. It is known when the land problem started and how it ensued. It is amazing that the majority of members of parliament are black people. Those who are landowners are just a minority in that parliament. But it seems that they are still very powerful than the majority of the members. We as the black people don't have land. We as the EFF, we say black people must be given land. Very good pieces of land or pockets of land are in the hands of white minority and like the VPS and the others. So we as the EFF, we still insist that please stop playing delaying tactics and employ securities. Please give black people land.
Greetings to the chairperson and to the House at large. I am Liabona Ndendela, EFF member. We have made our submissions and we told the members of the parliament to go and amend to the constitution to allow for expropriation of all land without compensation into the custody of the state. And umhlaba wethu asizomthenga. Siyamfuna without payment because umhlaba wethu uthathwe engabhadelwanga uthathwe ngenkani. So lo mhlaba siyamfuna, and this creativity yokuba we cannot use umhlaba wethu ngokulungileyo mayiphele because umhlaba wethu sasimsebenzisa with izandla zethu, with farming ngezinto zonke. So umhlaba wethu siyamfuna and want to use it for farming nezindlu because abantu bakuthi abanendawo zokuhlala xa beyokuhlala eJupa Island engenamntu phana bayadutyulwa bayakhutshwa ngulo enforcement. So umhlaba wethu siyamfuna without compensation. Thank you, Chair.
We are not going to pay for our land. Our land was taken from us, but without anything paid towards us. We need our land for human settlement and farming. Our people, when they try to use the piece of land, they are being sent with law enforcers or even shot at.
Greetings to everyone. Igama lam ndinguNolisindi Somane, eCryfontein, Ward 101. Mandithathe eli thuba ndibulele ku-chairperson ngokundinika le chance. Singabemi sicela ukunikwa nokuhlonitshwa kwamalungelo ethu. Urhulumente have failed us kudala. Kwilizwe lethu siphethwe ngabantu bokufika ezitratweni kugcwele bona. Kodwa thina xa sizizamela sifunwa ipermit. Sibeka ihoki kumabala asetyenziswa ukubulala abantu every day. Kodwa xa siwasetyenziswa siyadutyulwa siyabulawa ngabantu bekufanele bayasikhusela. Urhulumente uthi la mabala uzokwakha kuwo. Kodwa aneminyaka emile ngelo xesha kukho abantu abaku-waiting list yezindlu for over 10 years. Isicelo esinaso sinye kukunikwa umhlaba ongowethu ngaphandle kwembuyekezo. Kukho amaplasi amileyo angasetyenziswayo. Ngelo xesha thina balapha sidinga ipiece yokuthi silime even ispinach sikwazi sithengise sikwazi uziphilela. Icrime kwindawo esihlala kuzo igqwesile. Kuba ulutsha lugraduate luhlale lungasebenzi. Lo gama urhulumente esithi umsebenzi uqala ku-18 years, 35 years. Xa ungapha kwe-35 years awusakwazi ukusebenza. Ngelo xesha iparlamente leyo igcwele amaxhego namaxhegwazana. CEFF sithi give us what belongs to us, as if it means we must die for it. We are ready. Thank you.
I'm Nolisindi Somane from Ward 101, Cryfontein. We request that our rights should be respected and be given to us. When we take our rights by building informal settlements in the open pieces of land, we are being evicted and even being attacked. And yet there are open pockets of land that are lying there without the use. When we want those pieces of land, municipality will promise that they are going to use that piece of land or they are going to build. And yet there are people who have been on the waiting list for more than 10 years, and those open pieces of land are still lying open. We need to have a piece of land that belongs to us so that we can use it to make our own way of living. And crime is very rife because people are unemployed, and those pieces of land, if they can be made available, they can find ways of living. And the unemployment rate is very high because the government say youth starts from 18 to 35, and yet parliament is full of elderly people, and some of us are unemployed. We as the EFF, we say we should be given the land so that we can find a way of living.
Ndibulisa usihlalo, ndibulisa nendlu yonke. Igama lami nguZimkhitha Ngonselifani, ndisuka kumbutho we-EFF eKhayelitsha. So Chairperson, we do not understand why the Parliament is spending money on this process when there is a process to amend the Constitution, and then after amending the Constitution, this committee must bring a legislation informed by the Constitution. We made our submissions in 2 Parliament public hearings on the land question, and we told members of Parliament to go and amend the Constitution to allow for land expropriation, to allow for expropriation of land without compensation into the custody of the state. We are concerned that the expropriation bill that you want us to make inputs on is legislation that must tell us now that the Constitution allows for expropriation of all land without compensation. This is how the state is going to expropriate land. This is how the land is going to be distributed to all, everyone equally. And this is how our rights to use the land is going to be protected. But since you are here, we must know that our position remains the same. We want all the land to be expropriated without compensation. This is the only way we will address the colonial land deposition and the legacy of apartheid. We do not give Parliament a mandate to find ways to pay for the land that was stolen. Our land is not a commodity and should not be for sale. The Expropriation Bill is unnecessary destruction, and we see it as a way to hijack the real struggle of Black people and will not solve the challenges of land. The money is available to pay. The money that is available to pay for the land must be given to Black small-scale farmers. Black people in South Africa need their land to farm, build houses, and build businesses. And expropriation bill is not going to help us in doing any of these things. No legislation is above the law. And when we speak of land expropriation without compensation, it's also going to add to the unemployment rate. So when we speak of that, that means we've got graduates that are unemployed. So when we speak of land without compensation, it's also going to assist, because some of them, they studied beauty therapy, so they can just get a land and then they can just bafake business yabo kulo ndawo, and then they can have no need for them to be on the part of the unemployment rates. But if we can get the land, everyone is going to be able to get the land and afake business yake kulo ndawo afuna ufaka kuyo. So it's also going to add on that. Thank you.
Siyabulela kakhulu kubo bonke abantu abathe baveza izimvo zabo kolusuku lanamhlanje apha kwaLanga. Sizawuzithatha zonke ke ezi zimvo zenu njengoba benitshilo xa siqalayo, xa sigqibile ukuvizithela lamaphondo olithoba, sizohlala phansi sidibanise izimvo esasizifumene ngoba sabhalelwa, sazifumana kwi-oral submissions nezi zimvo ke sizifumene apha kuni xa besijikeleza kwezi public hearings. Ukhona apha ubethetha ndiyacinga kuba ndingasazi ethetha ngechivenda sinabo abantu abasitolikelayo abakhoyo pha eParlamente njengoba isenzeka nje bazawusibhalela sonke esa speech ebesithetha apha kuthi sikwazi into kuba besingazanga nayo umuntu obezawusitolikela. Siyabulela kakhulu zinkosi zakuthi into nichithe ixesha lenu nazohlala nathi. Students imibutho yonke ezopolitiko ibikhona phakathi kwethu, intlanganiso yethu ke ngoku siyayivala. Siyabonga kakhulu. Inkosi.